Check 1-2, radio check. Over still. On the box to the corner, lane up through the triangle. Not sure why we did that. I don't know the plan. 88 was screaming everybody get to the bottom. We should just run all out and wait till after the fourth pit. Get out of the gas, slow down. He's got it right in front of me.
Here comes that number 15 of Cameron Goss. Coming line, it's Kurt Sponsler will pick up stage win. Mr. Garland and Team Garland leading the way, showing these drivers how to get it done. As the Mexico.
Radio check, check 1-2, radio check. Over still. On the box to the corner, lane up through the triangle. Not sure why we did that. I don't know the plan. 88 was screaming everybody get to the bottom. We should just run all out and wait till after the fourth pit. Get out of the gas, slow down. He's got it right in front of me.
Here comes that number 15 of Cameron Goss. Coming line, it's Kurt Sponsler will pick up stage win. Mr. Garland and Team Garland leading the way, showing these drivers how to get it done. As the Mexico. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in as we get ready to rock and roll here this evening from the beautiful Daytona International Speedway as the Goss 500 here this evening. It is our season finale. 500 miles, 200 laps here from Daytona, and it is going to be fun, as at the end of it we will find out who our 10th season of the Outcast Racing League champion will be. Who will win that 10th year championship here today. It's going to come right down to the wire like it does every single year. Those late race caution flags, those last second moves, the big block, the big run, or maybe a little bit of luck squeezing yourself through a tight window to try and pick up the championship late in this race. It could cause a lot of carnage. It could cause a lot of controversy, but at the end of the day, we know that the driver out of our championship 8 that puts himself farthest forward will be our champion. As let's take a look here at our crew chief breakdown. Crew chief breakdown here this evening, brought to you by Must Love Poodles, as we'll get a good look in and see that a little bit of a breakdown here this evening, and making sure that these drivers are kind of on point, knowing what's going on, how many laps they need to go as they're at the beautiful Daytona Beach in Florida, the Sunshine State. The track length is 2.5 miles long. Pit road speed is 55 miles per hour. When we start to run into those green flag pit stops, we could see some big black flags being laid out. Some penalties down pit road could cost you a run at the championship here this evening. They can make it about 37-40 laps on a tank of fuel. They got 7 sets of tires back behind pit wall, which doesn't really make a huge difference. Obviously, having some new tires later on in the race, being able to mix things up a little bit more is going to be beneficial, but new tires don't really make a huge difference here at Daytona. But the one big thing is that you only have one quick fix, only one quick repair. You run into issues, you run into problems early on here this afternoon, you got to use that up. You don't have it in your back pocket. Could be an early exit to this race if you get claimed in another big wreck late in this race, as we'll get them all stacked up, racked up, and ready to rumble here this evening after a quick word from our sponsors over at Goss. Alrighty, shout out there to Goss for coming in and being our proud sponsor here this afternoon, as these drivers get ready to rumble. They get ready to duke it out here in this one. 500 miles the distance, and leading us to the green flag will be the number 3 machine of Al Reed. To his outside in the 12 ride, it's Josh Bromfield. Starting in position number 3 in the 25 ride, the MMG machine, that is Mr. Edward Belair. To his outside in the 9 ride, it is the Isabel's Impact. Must Love Poodles, number 9, that Landesco ride of Tyler Humphrey will start there in that 4th position. Starting in position number 5, the foul out number 60, that is Johnny Thunders. To his outside in the Advanced Technical Solutions number 49 ride, it is Kurt Sponsler who will start there in 6. Starting in 7th, it's the Goss ride out there on the Speedway. The Goss 02 is Chad Lancaster. To his outside in 8th in the Outcast Racing League, Poor Boy Motorsports number 81, it's Anthony Garland. Starting in the 9th position, the 6th ride is Rob Tuiscu in his RT3 Designs ride. To his outside, the 99, it is Chris Muse in the Monster Energy machine. As we see Devin Black, the 37 of James Garland, Mike Killingbeck, Billy Jordan, Nicholas Barton, Caleb McKinney, Brandon Puffenbarger, Corey Crowell, Cameron Combs, Grant Humphrey, Casey Gross, and Gary Wright rounding out the field as we end all the anticipation with our feature presentation, as we are quickly Green Flag Racing here from Daytona for our Goss 500. Our championship race with the Outcast Racing League is underway. Is Al Reed out in front, going to lead us down and out of corner number 2, but it's the outside lane getting a great shove here in the 12 right of Bromfield. Looking to move out in front here. Bromfield getting a good shove from the 9 right of Tyler Humphrey. They both jump down to the inside lane. So does that 49 of Mr. Kurt Sponsler. So Sponsler now jumps into position number 3 here on the Speedway. But for these drivers, there was a lot of laps. There's a lot of time to maneuver, to make moves, to try to put yourself into a winning situation. You don't have to lead the first lap, the 50th lap, the 100th lap. It all matters about leading at that 200th lap, the final lap of the day. And all you're going to be is there. You gotta give yourself a shot. You gotta be there to get a shot at it, to put yourself into a position to try to get it done here in this one. As Must Love Poodle says, Mama Humphrey in the chat says, let's go racing, boys. Cheering on both our boys here this evening. The twins both in attendance and both able to potentially win this championship here this evening for the Must Love Poodles team. As Joshua Neal says, let's go number 2. Cheered on that 2 ride of Corey Crowell and the 2 machine as well here this evening, as we do see Sandra in here as well. Sandra Reed in the chat says, let's go number 3 from Sandra, Jake, and Aiden. Cheering on their dad here this evening as Al Reed started on the pole position. Has fallen back a few spots here early on in this race, but for the 3 ride, just trying to keep himself, kind of in the picture here. You got to be there at the end as you see that number 81 of Anthony Garland getting a great shove from Chris Muse. Muse will jump into position number 4 now, but unfortunately, not a whole lot of help in front of him, not a whole lot of help behind him here until he finally backs it up to the 7 right of Devin Black, who will try to pick him up, get him rolling, see if they can kind of get that outside lane a little bit more reorganized here and see if they can build that speed up once again. Unfortunately, they can continue to lose members down to that inside lane, and they continue to fall a little bit farther back, but you can see there's a lot of speed rolling that outside groove. There's a lot of speed down low, but up in that middle side, man, you're a little bit more on the throttle, you're a little bit more hung wide open, and obviously the drivers on the outside, they're trying to find a hole, and they're also trying to find a way up towards the front here, so they're pushing a little bit harder. As there you go, you see another driver gets to the front of the field, jumps down to the inside lane, now looking to just kind of sit in front of Anthony Garland as Chris Muse rolls to the front of the field. But the 7 run getting a big shove here from Mike Killingbeck. Will Devin Black get his run to the front here? Will he stay there in that outside group, or will he jump down in front of that 99 ride? Is down across the line. It is Devin Black who will lead that lap. So Devin out in front, leading that 4th lap of this feature event. As we get a let's go LTU in the chat. The Lawrence Tech University, is that what the LTU is for? The Lawrence Tech University number 70 ride of Mike Killingbeck cheering on here this evening as Mike rolling there in position number 2 right now, as he's able to push that 7 of Devin Black out in front, and they're looking to clear that inside lane with ease. Now, a lot of these drivers, what their game plan is probably going to be is to honestly take it easy. You can take it easy. You don't have to battle for stage points. Stages, we will have a stage break at the completion of lap number 50 and the completion of lap 100, where these drivers will get a free opportunity to come down pit road, get fuel, get tires, make changes to their race cars. But obviously, for a lot of these cats, stage points, they don't matter. They don't count to anything. They don't really mean much. But obviously, you take a little bit of pride in it. You want to lead laps, want to be out in front, and some drivers will like to be a little bit more on the aggressive side and rather be in front of potentially some of the carnage that can unfold later in this race, where other drivers, when we look back here towards, Johnny Thunders and, Al Reed, some of these guys that are hanging back a little bit farther, including, the 2 of Corey Crowell, the 0 to a Chad Lancaster. You throw Casey Gross right into that mix as well. These drivers are more than happy to kind of hang out here a little deeper in the field, knowing that if there is a calamity, if there is a caution in front of them, that they'll have enough time that they can probably get checked up and avoid the carnage that's up at the front of the field, and not getting tore up early on in this race and just surviving to be there at the end of the day is going to be pretty much everybody's main goal. But for some drivers, they're really putting that emphasis on it, trying to stay a little bit deeper back here at the back of the pack. But throughout that middle portion, man, they're starting to run a little bit more single file towards the front. And unfortunately for Cameron Combs, not a whole lot of help here in that outside lane. And unfortunately, looks like they're going to just hang out here a little bit deeper in the pack as things may get a little bit more single file, as drivers get a little bit more lined up here in that inside group, a little bit more comfortable running single file early on in this 200 lap feature event. As Devin Black out in front, Devin continues to lead the way. Mike Killingpeck and Edward Belair sit there in second and third. Tyler Humphrey and Grant Humphrey, the Humphrey boys, the twins, now lined up in fourth and fifth on the racetrack. Caleb McKinney right there with them as McKinney's trying to race his way up towards the front as Wayne Garland says, "Give them hell." Caleb McKinney cheering on Caleb from the sidelines here this evening. We miss seeing Wayne out there on the racetrack having some fun, but unfortunately not out here this afternoon. As Must Love Poodle says, happy to see Devin leading some laps. Go teammate! Go teammate! Cheered on the teammates here this evening as Devin does lose that race lead, falls back a couple spots, but now we'll get lined up with the Humphrey twins right here behind him. Tyler Humphrey, Grant Humphrey, now lined up with their teammate Devin Black. We'll have to wait and see what they got in store, if they want to try to work their way to the front, or if they're going to be kind of happy just kind of hanging out here inside the top five. Know that they got good track position, they got a good line, they just got a little bit of cruise control here for a while. And you know what? This is honestly probably one of the best moves for a lot of these drivers, just to keep things kind of cool, calm, and collective. We don't want to see drivers having an early exit in this race. We don't want to see drivers having to be parked down pit road for an extended period of time, fall multiple laps down, and not really have a chance towards the end of this race to not only win it, or to have a good finish, or to potentially win that championship. As everyone kind of single file now, no one's jumping out of line. Everyone's kind of freight trained here on the Speedway. And with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a quick look here at our point standings. Take a look here at the point standings right now. That's the wrong one. There we go. That's the point standings we were looking for. So this is the playoff breakdown right here. This will give you a good look at how things have been kind of rolling through and how drivers have advanced their way up and in to this championship 8, as we started with 16 drivers. Unfortunately, 4 drivers were eliminated after those first 2 races. The next 2 races in round 12 dropped us from 12 drivers down to our championship 8, where today Tyler Humphrey, Corey Crowell, Caleb McKinney, Grant Humphrey, Al Reed, Kurt Sponsler, Joshua Bromfield, and Casey Gross all have an opportunity to battle, to duke it out, and to see who can potentially win the championship here this season. Last Sunday, man, it was a crazy race, crazy action. We saw drivers like Cameron Combs, who was in line to potentially transfer through to this round of 8. Unfortunately for Cameron, it ran into internet issues, lost connection to the server, fell deep in the field, and missed his chance to battle for this championship here this year. A couple tough races for Rob Tuwiscu, unfortunately had him on the outside looking in, and Chris Muse ran into pit road penalties, and for Chris Muse, missed his chance to work his way into this championship as well. So unfortunately for Muse, Tuwiscu, and I do believe it was Devin Black, the odd man out there, just not enough points banked up for the 7 rider Devin Black, who also got eliminated last Sunday from playoff contention. But for our championship 8, It's all about beating the other 7. You don't have to win the race. You don't have to put yourself up in victory lane. All you have to do is make sure that you finish in front of the other 7 playoff drivers, and you can find yourself into the championship victory lane here this season. As out in front, Killingbeck continues to lead the way. He's got that 25 of Edward Belair right there on his back bumper. They continue to stay single file as Devin Black, Tyler Humphrey, and Grant Humphrey round out our top 5. Caleb McKinney's there in 6th with Chris Muse back in 7th. James Garland in position number 8. Anthony Garland there in 9th. And Josh Bromfield rounding out our top 10. Kurt Sponsler's there in 11th. Al Reed's right with him here as some of the teammates lined up here with the Elite Sim Racing team as the 49, the 3, and the 6 all locked together here from 11th, 12th, and 13th position. And they throw in the 22 and Nicholas Barton, the 16 of Gary Wright, the 60 Wright, that foul out machine of Johnny Thunders back in the 16th position with the John Deere, number 15 ride, another Elite Sim Racing machine. A Cameron Combs there in 17th. Billy Jordan, Chad Lancaster in the Goss 02 ride here this evening. Looking beautiful out there on the racetrack as the Goss ride rolls there in 19th. And now here they come. Early green flag pit stops. Alrighty, we didn't think we'd see some this early, but obviously drivers, they know that they have to make a pit stop in this stage. They cannot make it to the stage break, as they can only make it about that 37 to 40 lap marker. And obviously now that they've hit 14 laps in, they know if they come down pit road from this point on, that they will be good to that stage break, that they will have enough fuel to get to the stage break here this evening. And you see Thunders, Lancaster, Billy Jordan, and Casey Gross all coming down pit road. This is, I do believe, the Quantum Motorsports team for the most part, all elected to come down pit side. Now the big thing is that you come down with such a small group of drivers that you don't leave pit road together. You kind of get broken up. It puts you into a tough position where you're going to lose a ton of track position. You're going to lose that draft and more than likely may fall a lap down here throughout this stage. And that could definitely set you back here late in this race. So I think they were expecting maybe a few more drivers to head down pit road with them. Unfortunately, not so lucky for Johnny Thunders or Chad Lancaster. Billy Jordan at 77 of Casey Gross. They're going to need to see a little bit more, teamwork here potentially, and see if they can get a little bit more lined up before they potentially become the first 4 drivers to lose a lap here in this race, as the killer, Mike Killingbeck, right there in the top spot. He's got the race lead, and they are still lined up nose to tail here, single file at the front of the field, but they are looking to try to take advantage of those earlier pit stops by those 4 drivers, hoping to put them a lap down, kind of set them back here throughout this race and put them into a very tough position later on this evening. As Killingbeck, Edward Belair, and Devin Black are top 3 here on the Speedway, as Deb says, "Go Kurt, you got this," cheering on Kurt Sponsler Jr. here this evening as Choke you damn says, "Go Killer, number 70, go on," cheering on Mr. Killingbeck here this evening, as Killingbeck out in front here, continue to lead the way, will lead another lap here at Daytona International Speedways. They completed 17 laps now. 17 laps completed out of 200. We still got a long time, a lot of laps, a lot of distance here for these drivers, and that's why we're seeing a lot more of this single file. I think for a lot of these drivers, they've game planned, they know what they need to do, they know that if they want a chance at winning this race or winning the championship, you gotta be there at the end. And right now, it's all about surviving. It's all about that survival, and for our championship drivers, that's exactly what they're trying to do. Now, if you're looking for some of those championship drivers out on the racetrack, here we go, more pit stops. Okay, this is exactly what that 4-car pack wanted to see. More pit stops here as we see Chris Muse He's going to continue to lead the way here as he'll take over the race lead as we see Caleb McKinney, Mike Killingbeck, Edward Belair, Tyler Humphrey, Devin Black, James Garland, and Grant Humphrey all come down pit road. So this is about a 7-car pack right here. All electing to head down pit road, get fuel. Doesn't look like any tires here. Obviously, tires not a huge thing here at Daytona International Speedway, but they're going to take fuel and they're going to get rolling. And now they want to get lined up here, and you can see that the 76 of Caleb McKinney quicker down pit side here, and we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be close on fuel or not, but we do see another wave of drivers heading down pit road as here comes Anthony Garland, and oh no, heartbreaker here for Anthony. Goes around, no caution flag. We keep it clean and green, but for Anthony Garland, let's take a look at it and see what happens here to that 81 ride as heading into pit road. Gets in a little too hot, locks down the tires right there, and some solid contact into that corner bead right there of the pit road. Oh man, this is a heartbreaker. Early on in this race is an issue you do not want to have to deal with, and right there just locks down the front end trying to get checked up. Realized he was going too fast for pit road, and unfortunately it hooks the car around. He gets into that inside safer barrier right there, washes into the infield there, and obviously not a fun spot to be as he will now be down pit road for potentially an extended period of time trying to get that car repaired, trying to get this thing fixed up and back out onto the racetrack. It unfortunately is already fallen one lap down and also has to serve a penalty as he was too fast down pit side. And for the number 81, that is a black flag hold, and this is going to set him back here in this one. As Chris Muse in the chat says, 99, Dad says, go, 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 cheering on Chris Muse here this evening. Luckily enough, Muse just down pit road was able to avoid, getting tied up or tore up in that bit of carnage right there with the 81 going around it. Unfortunately for Anthony Garland, here he is finally rolling back out onto the racing surface. Unfortunately, as of right now, he will be scored at least 2 laps down until we see the other, 7 drivers or so make their way down pit side here. Could be potentially only 1 lap down if he's lucky. But for Kurt Sponsler Jr., still staying out here, staying with Al Reed, Rob Tuwisku, and Cameron Combs. This is all of that Elite Sim Racing team staying out here a little bit longer and now has the race lead. They're now chilling out in front, and they're going to see what they can do here a little later in this race, see if they can make some different fuel strategy calls to make it a little bit easier on themselves. As Corey Crowell, Brandon Puffenbarger right there with them, and you do see the 81 ride going to fall in line here as well. So that will be Anthony Garland, who will tag on with these guys. Unfortunately, though, as he sits behind these drivers, he finds himself at least 2 laps down. But for Kurt Sponsler Jr., out in front, leading the way here. A lot of these other drivers that have already made their pit stops, they're not too far away from potentially going a lap down themselves. An untimely caution flag could definitely hurt their chances here this evening, but if a caution flag does fly, more than likely we'll see them leapfrog their way back to the front of the field with our top 7 electing to come down pit road. But right now, it is this 9 ride of Tyler Humphrey who leads the second group. It's the second group kind of getting built up here, running a little bit harder, a little bit more too wide here at the middle portion of the field as our race leaders back behind them. Seeing if they can try to track him down, if they can work together, if they can work smart here. They've gained another car for the 22 ride as Nicholas Barton. Barton, unfortunately, has now fallen a lap down here himself. He had lost that draft to that lead group and unfortunately will fall back into that 21st position. But for this second group of cars, if they can kind of stop battling side by side, I'm not sure if this is going to hurt them or help them, but I believe more than likely this is going to hurt them. When you run door to door, you're side drafting a whole lot more. You're actually running quite a bit slower lap times than what you probably would be towards the front of the field here. And for Kurt Sponsler Jr., Al Reed Rob Tuiscu, they know this. They know that if they can run quite a bit better lap times, if they can catch up to that lead group, if they can tag just a little bit of that draft off their back bumper before they got to come down pit road, this could really propel them forward here in this feature event as the 49 ride, the 3, and that 6 of Mr. Tuiscu round out our top 3 here on the Speedway. It's all Elite Sim Racing right now out in front, continuing to lead this race as they're out in front, but they still have to make that pit stop, and it looks like they're going to come down this time. So here comes our final 7 drivers to make the opening stage green flag pit stops here this evening as Kurt Sponsler Jr., Al Reed, Rob Tuiscu, Cameron Combs, Gary Wright, Corey Crowell, and Brandon Puffenbarger all find their pit stalls, all heading down, getting their fuel, getting topped up, making sure that they are ready to rumble, ready to roll back out onto the racing surface, and hoping that they can, maybe stay in front of that lead group. If they can stay in front of them, could set themselves up here for a good first stage of the day. But if they're coming in a quick hurry, then it could definitely hurt their chances here this evening as you see them starting to roll out of the pits here. They're up to speed. They're starting to build that speed up now down through corner 1 and 2 for Caleb McKinney and that second group. They've gotten a little bit more single file, and now here they come down into corner number 1. Nice and easy. They're going to start to click these drivers off. There goes Gary Wright that they're going to get around. So Wright will fall back in behind them, but you take a look out in front here. They're down the back straightaway. They're starting to build up this speed. They're starting to get the launch that they were hoping for, and for a lot of these drivers, unfortunately just not tight together, so they may not have quite as much speed as that lead group. They should probably be able to catch them and put them into their pack as you see them finally working their way to that 6th ride of Rob Tuiscu. Tuiscu will fall in behind these guys. Unfortunately, he'll lose all those positions, but if you start to work at the 49 ride of Kurt Sponsler, Brandon Puffenbarger, that 2 ride of Corey Crowell, or even Cameron Combs and Al Reed, by the time that they catch those drivers, they're going to be up to speed. They're going to be running virtually the same speed. It's going to be a whole lot tougher to get around them. They could definitely throw a little bit more of a block or try to stay in front of that lead pack and trying to make sure that they can, stay in front of the field here. Maybe set themselves up for a good first stage of the day and really give them an idea on what they need to do or what they, may have to do late in this race to put themselves into a winning position. As Anne Marie in the chat says, go James Garland, says, love you, babe. Cheering on James here this evening as James Garland in that Ghost Energy. Number 37, Ryan, currently sits in that 8th position, looking to try to keep on battling here. He's got his pool boy teammates here right around him as the 12 ride of Josh Bromfield right there in position number 7. As we were talking, though, before green flag pit stops kind of got underway, if you guys want a good look here at what our playoff drivers will have, you see the back wing on these cars, that rear spoiler. See if we can get another look at it here. Okay, so you see the rear spoiler right here on these cars. That is to decipher who the playoff drivers are and the non-playoff drivers are out there on the Speedway. So for Kurt Sponsler, you can see that yellow rear spoiler. That is a playoff driver. You look at the 2 right, a couple cars in front of them. That is Corey Crowell. That is another playoff competitor. You look up there at the 12 and that number 76 of Caleb McKinney. Both drivers are a part of the playoffs, and they both have those yellow playoff spoilers. But the drivers that are in the playoffs, unfortunately, they do not have the yellow spoilers here. There's Casey Gross. There's the 49 ride of Kurt Sponsler. A couple more of our playoff competitors right there with them. And for a lot of these drivers, being able to kind of know and see, who the playoff drivers are and aren't, that can really, decipher, who you want to work with or not work with out there on the racetrack. And that could be a big decision for a lot of these drivers. Do you want to lead a helping hand hand to some of these playoff competitors. Maybe somebody that had beat you out of the playoff rounds earlier in the season, or potentially just, maybe a teammate that you want to help, or, someone that you don't want to help that's on a different team is a totally viable option. We're going to see that throughout this evening, where teamwork really starts to make that dream work out there on the racetrack, and drivers needing to know, where their teammates are, where they want to fall in line, which lane do they want to choose. Do they want to be in that bottom lane, outside lane, as you want to help your teammates out more than you want to help their competition out, especially when it comes to this championship. As each and every one of these drivers looking to try to win this race, but also trying to win this championship now, realizing as well, you look at the 15 right here at Cameron Combs. Okay, so Combs definitely did not change his banner here. So Cameron Combs is not a part of the playoffs. Keep that in mind. The yellow on this 15 right spoiler is not supposed to be there. Cameron is no longer a part of the playoffs. He was in the playoffs as of last Sunday. As of this Sunday for the championship race, he is not a championship driver. So if you do see this yellow and green number 15 Ryan, just know that he is not a part of the playoffs here. He just has not changed that rear spoiler on that race car, and maybe it's just because it looks like it, or it looks like it is supposed to be there, so at least it makes it a little bit easier here in this one. As Must Love Poodle says, oh, thanks for that explanation. I got you, Must Love Poodles, I got you. I want to make sure that you guys are well informed here this evening on what's happening and what's going on. As Chris Muse says he's moving up, and there he goes. There he goes. Yeah, unfortunately, you're going to see that a lot here this evening. It's going to come down to late in this race on, where these drivers are running. As of right now, and as these stages kind of unfold, there's no stage points. There's no really anything that will help you out, as you almost saw big contact right there between the 0-2 of Chad Lancaster and that 7 right of Devin Black, as Devin trying to get this outside lane rolling here once again. He does have a couple of his teammates right here with him, as you do see the 9 of Tyler Humphrey, the 48 of Grant Humphrey right there in that outside lane, and they've got the 25 and the 70 right of Killingbeck there with them. They're trying to roll back up towards the front of the field here. These 5 were leading the front of the field for quite a while early in this race, but as of right now, it's all Al Reed in the Elite Sim Racing ZZX Digital RT3 Designs number 3 machine, as that Landon C number 3 machine rolls there in that top position in that 3 ride. Cameron Combs there in second, his teammate with Josh Bromfield in third, rolling there in that 3rd position with Corey Crowell and Caleb McKinney rounding out our top 5 here this evening. As these drivers continue to put on a great show for us, an amazing race, we got to give another huge shout out to our sponsors here on the evening for our championship race. You can see them riding on board here with that 0-2 of Chad Lancaster, as the Goss team coming on board as our main sponsor here for our championship race. We can't thank Goss enough for coming on board, being a part of this series, and being a part of this amazing race here this evening, as they came in, gave us a lot of love, and for equipment for professionals. I mean, they chose the right league here. This is a league full of professionals, and Goss, it is equipment for professionals. We'll go through some of their commercials. We had one earlier, but we'll go through them a little bit more throughout this race as they continue to create some quality equipment here at Goss, and we can't thank them enough for being on board with us here. As and huge shout out there to them being on board for this championship race in the biggest spot here in this series, as everything amplifies so much more throughout these playoffs. Things get so much crazier, and when it comes down to our final race, our season finale, that championship battle, man, it just builds that intensity. And for a lot of these drivers right now, the intensity level, it's up there. These drivers, they can feel it. They know that they just need to stay alive, though, in this race. They need to keep themselves in the battle. They don't want to put themselves behind the 8 ball, get damaged, put themselves multiple laps down, or put themselves at any sort of a disadvantage other than track position late in this race. And I think for a lot of these cats, that's exactly what their game plan is here, especially throughout the first half of this race. You got 500 miles, 200 laps to try and put yourself into a winning situation. You're not going to win it here in the first 50. You're not going to win it in the first 100 laps. You can only win it at that checkered flag. And for a lot of these drivers, to be there at the end is the ultimate goal. Just to give yourself that shot, to give yourself that opportunity to try and win this championship. As Al Reed out in front will complete lap number 36 here this evening. So 36 laps completed. Still a lot of laps left to go. 164 laps left here in this feature event. And for these drivers, they know that they're in for a long haul. They know that they're going to be here for a while. I don't know if they got substitute drivers back there. Maybe they'll get their kids or maybe their spouses or anything else to maybe jump in behind the wheel, especially during these caution flag breaks, to give them an opportunity to head to the bathroom quickly, use the bathroom, get back in to the action, and get rolling here, as unfortunately they need someone to kind of hold the throttle down. They need someone to keep them rolling out there on the speedway, to give them maybe that little extra minute or two to give them a quick bathroom break throughout this race. Or, I looked at the chat earlier, and there may be a couple of drivers that may have, maybe they're like, diehard NASCAR guys. Maybe they've got the catheters in, maybe they got a diaper on or something like that, and they're ready for the long haul, and they're not gonna, have to use that bathroom break because they brought it with them here this evening. But we'll have to wait and see. I feel we'll see it here probably, in some of these later caution flags here. Maybe not as early as right now, but I feel probably after, 100 laps or so of racing action, we're going to see a few drivers probably stay down pit road for an extended period of time, or you may see them get super slow on the apron, rolling out on the racetrack, and that'll be our decipher whether or not they're having to use the bathroom here in this race. And for a lot of these guys, especially for the championship drivers, as those nerves continue to build up, you start to get a little bit more nervous throughout this race. It's going to continue to make it to probably go pee a little bit more. As, oh baby, look out, 3 wide here. James Garland shoots to the middle underneath of the 70 ride of Mike Killingback. Bold move right there from the 37 ride. Now he's right on that left rear quarter panel, the 48 ride. He's able to work the 48 of Grant Humphrey up the racetrack, but for James Garland, man, this is early on. Only 39 laps completed in this race to make some 3 wide moves like that, to be almost on, right rear quarter panels and making this a 3 wide fight at the front of the field. Definitely a very bold move there out of that Pool Boy Motorsports number 37 ride, as he continues the battle right there in about the 8th position. But down low, it is the 9 ride of Tyler Humphrey. Humphrey able to get a good enough push, a good enough run that he was able to jump down into the inside lane. And now you'll see Mike Killingback and Grant Humphrey jump down in front of him here. And they're going to continue to try to work here. Now they want to see this 7 ride and the 25 to get up there as well. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if they're going to get a good enough run, a good enough push to try to jump up there, as these 5 have been kind of right there at the front of the field for a lot of this race, as Grant Humphrey will lead lap number 40 here this evening. So 40 laps into this feature event. I do believe that is only, 20% of the way through this race. We still got 80% left here to go this afternoon. Still a ton of laps left to go, and still a lot of opportunities to fall backwards, to move forwards, and slice and dikes out there on the speedway. And for these drivers, no sense in tearing your stuff up or tearing up other people's equipment this early in the race, as we do see already at least one driver a lap down. That is the 81 of Anthony Garland. Garland is currently sitting 1 lap down here in this one, but for Nicholas Barton and that 16 ride of Gary Wright, they gotta hope that over the next 10 laps or so, 9 laps, that they do not fall a lap down. As of right now, they are about half a lap away from potentially falling a lap down, or potentially another lap down. If you're the 81 right of Anthony Garland, you want to see this stage break come as quickly as possible. You don't want to see another driver lose a lap. He is currently in line for the lucky dog. Could put himself right back on the lead lap, back into the battle and into contention here this evening. But being a lap down after a slide down through, pit road entry during our green flag pit stops, earning the first black flag penalty down pit road. For the 81 ride, he's looking to try to rebound here, and getting that stage brake caution flag and getting back on the lead lap would be that rebound that he is looking for. As Grant Humphrey, Mike Killingbeck, and Tyler Humphrey continue to lead the way here. You do see the Elite Sim Racing number 3 ride of Al Reed. He's going to look to the outside, so won't that 15 of Cameron Combs, as the outside lane started to get a little bit more built up once again. James Garling going to slice right on through into that 4th position. We'll have to wait and see if the outside can get the runs, can get the pushes that they need to jump up into this battle here at the front of the field. Now, I know for the 7 rider, Devin Black, he may be a little bit less inclined to want to push this 3 and 15 ride, knowing that his teammates are here at the front of the field and they're battling for this stage win. If he can kind of just stay up their back bumper, maybe not push as much as that they would like here, could slide that outside lane backwards, but could really help his teammates out in the long run, knowing that the 3 and the 15 won't have enough to be able to catch up to them and drop down in front of them like we've seen a lot of these drivers do already here this evening. As out in front, it is Grant Humphrey with only 7 laps left to go here in this stage. Does he get it done? Does he win that first stage of the day? As now, here we go. We see the 37 rider James Garland. James has been pretty aggressive here over the last few laps. He's definitely been looking to try to work his way towards the front of the field, hoping to maybe put himself into a position to win this stage. And as he's been slicing and dicing it, now we're going to see a couple more of the Elite Sim Racing rides jump up to the outside lane. That is the number 6 of Rob Tuwisku and the 49 of Kurt Sponsler. Going to see Sponsler up here battling for the race lead here, as we know that the 49 ride coming into this race, one of our playoff competitors here, one of the championship hopefuls, wants to get right into the mix here this evening. As here comes that 60 rider Johnny Thunders right up there with him, as he's going to suck into the back bumper of that 25 ride. And all of a sudden, it works out well for that 5-car tandem here of Grant Humphrey, Mike Killingbeck, Tyler Humphrey, Devin Black, and Edward Belair. As more and more drivers jump to the outside lane, they jump down to the inside lane, and they're able to fall right in line here, putting Devin Black to the back bumper of his teammates. And obviously the 25 and the 70 ride working with them here this evening, as they all kind of just, work together here. Everyone's trying to play nice. Everyone's trying to work, as a league early on in this race to not cause any cautions or any chaos out there. But for the Tampa Motorsports team here, with Ed, with Grant, with Devin, Mike, and Tyler Humphrey, teamwork making the dream work here, as all 5 drivers have been up here at the front of the field, leading laps and sitting at the front of the pack here, and they're looking really strong in this first stage. But we've seen this in years past where, potentially, the teams early on that are showing their hand, that are running really, really good, that are showing that they are going to be tough competitors here this evening, a lot of times it's the other teams late in the race that make, maybe different strategy calls or try to, force the hand to kind of break that team up a little bit more. And a lot of times the team that's dominant early in these races tends to not be the team that ends up winning the championship or the race later on. So we'll have to wait and see if Humphreys, Killingbeck, Black, and Belair can keep themselves up there and continue to keep up this pace and this work ethic to keep themselves here, kind of all 5 together and all 5 at the front of the field here until late in this season, or late in this race to end the season. And when it comes down to those final laps, when it comes down to our, maybe last restart or two, what do the Humphrey twins do here? If it comes down, Must Love Poodles in the chat may have to let us know about this one. She may have a little inside information. She says Grant getting it. He is getting it right now. But if it comes down to, late race moves here, Humphrey, what do these two do? Does Grant go for it? Does he throw blocks on Tyler Humphrey? Or does Tyler go for it? Or do they kind of got a game plan in mind that maybe, if one or the other is in line to potentially win the race or to potentially win the championship, that they're not going to jump in a line, they're not going to try to battle each other for this championship, that they'll push one or the other into that championship here late in the race, as that's definitely going to be a big question mark here for the twins late in this one on who gets it, who gets the championship. Does Tyler want to give it up to Grant? Oh gosh, what in the world just happened here, chat? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with us here. We may have lost connection to the server. You see a little skip frames over there on YouTube as well. Interesting. Bear with us. Okay, so it looks like we have, unfortunately, channel closed. All right, so we're going to back out of this, and we're going to come back in here. Give us 2 seconds. iRacing and things want to do iRacing stuff and things, so let's launch back into this, and let's get back into the race here, and hopefully it doesn't mess with the stream or anything else. Hopefully everything runs smoothly. Hopefully we don't run into any other issues, and hopefully we can get right back into the action here as quick as possible. Come on, baby, load in. They will race it out. I think gloves will be off. Oh, gloves will be off, says Must Love Poodles. Bear with us, chat. Bear with us. Well, during this, momentary break, let's get a quick word in here from our sponsors over at Goss.
Since 1940, Goss Incorporated has been supplying a full range of flame tools and accessories across the country and abroad. Our reputation for quality, high-performance products, excellent service, and efficient distribution has Since 1940, Goss Incorporated has been supplying a full range of flame tools and accessories across the country and abroad. Our reputation for quality, high-performance products, excellent service, and efficient distribution has made Goss a manufacturer that customers can depend on. Goss offers a wide variety of torches and accessories to fit any contractor's needs. All products are color-coded for easy identification for both contractors and countermen. The product color codes are as follows. Oxy-fuel items are color-coded green. Air acetylene items are color-coded red. Air propane and Mapro items are color-coded blue. And nitrogen items are color-coded yellow. All Goss cutting and welding replacement tips are engineered for maximum performance. The Goss Oxy-fuel equipment line has a wide variety of kit selections. There are options of front and rear valve welding torches, plus cutting attachments in the standard style, or the popular stubby-style torch tips. Goss also offers multiple high-pressure oxygen and acetylene regulator configurations for specialized job requirements. Goss air acetylene equipment is hot enough to do even the most difficult soldering and brazing jobs. Goss air acetylene target tips allow for unique adjustability and feature a wide selection of tips, including target tips, feather flame tips, split fire tips, and easy light snap-in tips. The air acetylene regulator is made out of brass bar stock and features a conical seat design, which allows for longer service life and durability. They also incorporate replaceable inlets and outlets. The gauges are guarded by a rubber protector to help prevent damage. The Air Propane Mapro line consists of multiple products. The innovative Goss torch gun has an automatic ignition, a cylinder torch belt clip and hose, giving the operator the ability to reach when the job requires it. The Goss trigger torch and the Switchfire hand torch system, both with a hot turbine flame, allow for easy access in any area, along with the heat needed to get the job done. The Switchfire torch system has 5 interchangeable torch tip selections, which allows the contractor to utilize the appropriate tip for the job. The popular standard propane kits have multiple uses. Contractors have the option of using a standard propane tip, the propane target snap-in style, as well as the Easy Light propane style target tip. Goss makes a torch called the Blaze Burner, as well as other high-heat torches used for various applications like weed burning, exterior drying and heating, asphalt, tar and road repair, and roofing. The Goss nitrogen equipment line offers contractors the ability to braze with nitrogen. Brazing without nitrogen causes internal oxidation that can flake off and damage parts inside the system. Brazing with Goss nitrogen regulators and flow meters displaces oxygen, which eliminates internal scale while protecting expensive valves. The Goss cutting and welding replacement torch tips are made to OEM specifications and will give the quality cut and welds that customers want and need. Goss torches, regulators, and accessories are known for having the highest quality, value, and durability in the industry. If Goss may serve your needs, please contact us at 1-800-367-4677 or visit our website at www.gossonline.com.
Alrighty, we are back in here like swimwear, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go, getting ready to rumble here for our second stage of racing action here this evening. And these drivers going to get right up there like swimwear here this evening as obviously iRacing connection issue there. We were able to load back in quickly, and unfortunately we didn't see the end of that stage break, but we did know that Al Reed came home with the stage win here this evening. So Al Reed was able to work his way to the point, win that stage. Kurt Sponsler, I believe, came home in second, with James Garland coming home in third in that stage. Caleb McKinney was back in about that fifth, sixth position. Good pit stop, though, for that 76. Ryan able to jump up into position number 3 here for that restart, as Edward Belair, Grant Humphrey, Josh Bromfield, Mike Killingbeck, Devin Black, and Chris Muse, they currently now round out our top 10. They will get ready to rumble here once again. They'll get ready to go back to battle after a little bit of an issue there, getting the connection to work, obviously, into the server. I mean, nothing I could have done about that one. Obviously, iRacing doing its thing, but nonetheless, luckily enough, we're able to quickly get back in here. Hopefully no issues with Streamlabs and everything else. So the stream stays good. We stay going. We stay growing. And we continue to keep on moving here this evening to see who will be our champion after 200 laps of racing action here from Daytona International Speedway, as the Goss 500 so far here this evening, man, has been an absolutely amazing show. These guys have been putting on a absolute incredible job here in this one, as Randall says, let's go 22, cheering on Nicholas Barton here this evening, cheering on Barton out there on the racetrack, as Chris Muse says, nice, great jump, still a long way to go here, a lot of laps, a lot of distance here. And now with me losing connection to the server, there may be other drivers that run into that issue here this evening. We tend to see at least 1 or 2 drivers every year kind of run into a bit of a problem like that, run into either a PC issue or run into an iRacing issue throughout at some point in time throughout this race. Hopefully this year will be different. It will be better, as CM says, my money is on the 99, cheering on his. I do believe is that your dad, Chris? Is that your dad, Chris Muse, out there on the racetrack? I know you're probably using either his YouTube account or your own YouTube account, but I don't know if it's Chris Muse Jr. As here we go, as Must Love Poodle says, shut your mouth, laugh out loud. Yeah, unfortunately for Tyler Humphrey, I do believe, was having PC issues prior to this race and over the last couple of days. So, yeah, definitely knock on wood there for Mr. Humphrey. No PC issues there for him. It is your dad. Okay, perfect. Well, we love to see Mr. Muse Jr. in the chat here as we are back to Green Flag Racing, as in front, Al Reed trying to hold on to the race lead, but for the 76 rider, Caleb McKinney, he's looking to try to take it away, as McKinney will work his way out in front as the 25 of Edward Belair may push him right there to the race lead here this evening, as you do see the number 48 right there. That is Grant Humphrey. He's right into the battle. Here comes that 70 of Mike Killingbeck as well. Unfortunately, though, their teammate, where did Tyler Humphrey fall to? He's all the way back here in that 15th spot. Same with that 7 rider, Devin Black. You see Devin jumping up into that 3rd lane, looking to already try to make it 3 wide here. And oh, look out! There we go! Contact! Around goes Caleb McKinney. Oh, baby! That was a big heartbreak right there for the 76 rider Caleb McKinney as he goes shooting down the racetrack. Unfortunately, no caution flag here for McKinney. Far enough down the racing surface, no one coming behind him, no caution flag here. Let's take a look back and see how this one kind of got played out. So for the 76 of McKinney, goes from that bottom side, looks to slide in front of the Elite Sim Racing number 3 machine. Al Reed says, you know what, I'm going to try to go around him here and shoot more for the middle, and right there, you're going to see the contact between Al Reed and the 49 rider Kurt Sponsler Jr. right here. Here's the bump. It just launches the 3 ride forward. Unfortunately, kind of gets him a little bent out of shape and pushes him up and into that left rear quarter panel. Nowhere to go for Edward Belair as he gets a big piece of it there as well. Heavy contact into that 76 ride, but for Caleb McKinney, it's all about this wash down the racetrack, sliding. Luckily enough, just kisses that inside fence. No major contact or damage there, and unfortunately, no caution flag to really help him out. But we do have a few more drivers running into problems. Caution flag has got to fly here. There it is. Okay, caution flag is finally out. Okay, so yellow flag does finally get displayed, but it does look like Chris Muse had lost the lead draft here after that initial issues. And then we see Lancaster, Gary Wright here, Devin Black potentially in this, James Garland as well. Some more big moves, and let's take a look here, see what happens as the 37 comes down the racetrack, just comes down across the nose of the 0-2 ride, and nowhere to go for Devin Black. Lancaster right into it. There's Edward Belair. Here comes a lot of other drivers all getting tied up into it, including a bunch of our playoff competitors here in this one. Oh, no. So it was the caution that just kept on, causing cautions here. This is a great break for the 76 of Caleb McKinney to get back into this one without falling a lap down. But for the 37 ride, sees a hole there for a little bit. I don't think he realized that there was going to be such a big run coming from the 0-2 ride that that gap was going to close in a quick hurry. And as he gets down the track in front of the 0-2 of Lancaster trying to get checked up, trying to slow down, but unfortunately just couldn't quite do it. Let's see if we can get another look at this one, because I do believe you're going to see flames coming out of that 0-2 ride. I think he expects it. He's realizing it, and yeah, just unfortunate contact there between the two of these drivers. They get tied together, sideways for the 37. They both wash up the racetrack. Devin Black nowhere to go as the Black's paint and graphics ride, just absolutely nothing he could do in that one. And then it's everyone else in behind them that's trying to get through here, that's trying to, figure out a way to get around this. Devin Black's going to wash back down the racetrack, the 25 ride. His teammate's going to get into him right there. Here comes Gary Wright. You see other drivers onto the apron, drivers up into the outside fence, just trying to avoid it as you look at Casey Gross here. Gross is on the apron. He's trying to cut down the track here. Unfortunately, he loses the rear end, slides back up here. Able to avoid the 37, the 16, but unfortunately can't avoid the outside fence. Same with the 2 ride. Corey Crowell, you see Nicholas Barton in there, the 14 of Billy Jordan going to get tied up into it. Now, luckily enough for drivers like Chris Muse that had lost the draft, he was far enough back that didn't get any damage out of that one. Didn't end up with some damage here in this one, as Straight Circle says, where is Devin Black from? Good question. Let's see if we can get it up onto the board here with his driver details, if he's got that filled out. So he doesn't have that filled out, so I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure where Devin Black is from. He doesn't have his driver information details laid out there. Only other thing we could do would be, I think this will show us. Shows us the hoping that we could see potentially what region he was from, but it just shows America for the USA. So unfortunately I can't quite give you that information because I don't quite know, unless if someone else in the chat may know exactly where Devin Black may be from. I am not totally sure. where exactly he's from. Nothing you could do, 22. Yeah, nothing a lot of these drivers could do. Nothing a lot of these cats could do to avoid that one. I mean, that was just a log jam, tough break, tough contact, and honestly, when you're traveling at almost 200 miles an hour, these things do not stop on a dime. They stop pretty good, but unfortunately, do not stop all that so well. But early on here, Devin Black obviously getting tied up in that one. Let's see if we can just bring Devin up here into the booth. Now this one may be a little tougher to do. Let's see if we can get him in here. Whereabouts is he? There he is. Hey Devin, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. To get a copy? Nope, that is not going to work. He's muted, so he must be jamming with the team here. Unfortunately, could not get him in there. Could not get him to say anything. So I was hoping that we could get a little information out of him. We'll have to wait till later. See if we can get him up there and see if we can get him into the booth after the race here this evening and figure out exactly where he may be from. As we'll get them all stacked up, racked up, ready to go back to Green Flag Racing here this evening. It's Al Reed, the man all the way from Ireland. That number 3 machine, Al Reed, ready to rock and roll, ready to go back to battle here this evening. Does have his Elite Sim Racing team up here inside the top 6 as Kurt Sponsler, his teammate there to his outside. His other teammate back in 4th is Rob Tuwiscu. In 6th is Cameron Combs. So 4 of the top 6 currently Elite Sim Racing, as the odd man out are that 70 rider Mike Killing, back to 12 of Josh Bromfield as they roll there in that 3rd and 5th position for this restart. As we do see the 48, the Must Love Poodles ride right there in position number 7. Grant Humphrey and Johnny Thunders back in row number 4 with Tyler Humphrey in the 22 and Nicholas Barton round out our top 10. As here we go back to Green Flag Racing. Green Flag quickly back out into the air as Al Reed gets another good launch, another good start here. Looks like he'll navigate towards that outside lane. Unfortunately, their teammate here, that 15 ride of Cameron Combs, did not get a great restart. Unfortunately for the 15, kind of stuck back here a little bit farther in this one as the outside lane just chewing up here. And now we're going to see Al Reed and Sponsler jump back down low. They're going to leave their other teammate, Rob Tuwiscu, kind of high and dry as they realize that there's not a whole lot of help here to that outside groove, that there's not a lot of drivers that are moving up right now to that outside lane. And I think that's really going to, I think that first big caution flag here, the first amount of drivers going to get tore up and tied up in that wreck, I think that's kind of scared them off a little bit here, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that single file action. Some of the drivers that were not collected, that were not a part of that caution flag, they may get a little bit more risky and frisky out there on the racetrack, knowing that they have that extra, quick repair still in their back pocket over potentially some of the other competitors back here deeper in the field. As you take a look back at, drivers like Corey Crowell, who got tied up in that one, got pretty solid damage. Didn't use the quick repair up, but still has quite a bit of right front damage after hard contact into the outside fence. He's got his teammate Brandon Puffenbarger right there with him. For Edward Belair, who got tied up in that with some solid damage. 25 ride does go a lap down here, so he'll need the stage break here or another caution flag to try to work himself back on a lead lap. But you look back at other drivers like James Garland, still trying to race his way back up there. Gary Wright, Casey Gross, drivers that got some solid damage out of that. 0-2 at Chad Lancaster back here as well. These are drivers that were tore up that may still have a bit of that damage. We'll have to wait and see, how that damage, really affects their race cars and how it's going to affect their drive here this evening and what they're going to be able to do potentially towards the end of this stage. But as of right now, some absolutely amazing racing action as these drivers continue to put on an absolutely stout show here this evening, man. Some great racing, great action. And if you guys are enjoying this racing action and you haven't already, make sure you guys do us a favor, man. Right now, hit the like button on the stream for us. Hit that share button. Share it out to your Facebook, your Discord, Twitter. Share it out to your friends and your family. Get them in here. Get them enjoying this amazing racing action here this evening and cheering on your favorite drivers here today. And make sure, without a doubt, that you hit the subscribe button. Become a part of the Peacemaker family here today. Hit that sub button right now. Turn those bell notifications on. That way you never miss it when we go green flag racing here on Peacemaker Gaming, as we're live almost daily here now. Obviously, throughout the holidays, we'll be off quite a bit more as Christmas is right around the corner. And for a lot of these drivers, knowing that Christmas is only 4 days away, this could be a big early Christmas present here to put yourself up and into victory lane and into potentially, a championship after this evening. Could be a great Christmas present, 4 days early, but Santa likes to, pull some miracles out late in this one, as Chris says, shake and bake, laugh out loud. Shake and bake, baby! Good old Ricky Bobby and the Talladega Nights throwback, right there, man. That's a beautiful one right there. Who doesn't love a good old, Ballad of Ricky Bobby, the Talladega Nights movie? Who doesn't love Talladega Nights? That is for certain. Such a great classic movie now. It's crazy to think that that's a classic movie, but, I mean, now that it's, 20-plus years old, it probably is somewhere around there as a classic now. Actually, I don't even know. Is Talladega Nights? Yeah, it was 2006. So dang near virtually 20 years old for Talladega Nights. That's actually crazy, man. That makes me feel so old now that movie is turning 20 years old. Man, that is crazy. That is crazy. Alrighty, as the three ride of Al Reed continues to lead this race. Al is out in front. He is looking pretty good here. He's got Kurt Sponsler still right there with him. And now we talked about how some of these other drivers throughout this race, we talked about the Humphrey twins and what they're going to do and how they're going to have to duke it out. There's other drivers that are teammates, including the two at the front of the field right now. When you look at Al Reed and Kurt Sponsler, Reed, I do believe, has won a championship in the past. I do believe a few years ago won the championship, and now for the 49 of Kurt Sponsler, I do believe this is potentially his first attempt at the championship in that 49 ride. So for Kurt and Al, teammates out there battling for this championship, when it comes down to late in this race, what do? Do you play it out friendly? Do you get a little bit more risky? Do you beat and bang, potentially back down to the start-finish line, knowing that one of you may win this championship, but you don't want to give it up? Either does the other competitor, and you got to be careful, though, because you start doing that, other drivers, other playoff competitors may jump up into that third lane or around you and steal this win away from you, especially if you start battling too hard. And when it comes to their teammates, when you look at, Cameron Combs and Rob Tuwisku, what do you do if you're rolling up behind these two late in the race, knowing that one or the other is going to win this championship? Which one do you go with? How do you decipher? How do you go with one or the other here? You just, I guess, got to choose, which one you think is going to get it done, which one you think is going to have the best chance on where they're running. But if they're dead even, man, it gets tough here, not only for the playoff drivers, but for the non-playoff drivers. Obviously wanting to help your teammates out, but when you have multiple teammates, it gets really, really interesting here in this one, as Joshua Neal says, 2 and 5 are teammates. Yeah, we figured that. Obviously, we see Puffin Barker back here trying to help Corey Crowell out as much as possible. Obviously, Corey with that damage after the caution flag there, after that first wreck of the day for that Mars number 2 machine. Still dealing with that right front damage. Honestly, Puffenbarger doesn't have any damage. He could have been up there battling here, but he wants to try to give at least a little bit enough of draft here do that two-ride that Corey Crowell can kind of hang there with them. Hope to keep him on the lead lap until the end of this stage, and it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be rough as they're already 20 seconds back here in this one. 20 seconds back, and unfortunately for our drivers battling here with that damage, I mean, they still have 30 laps left to go until the second stage comes out in this one, man. As Wayne says, 76, 22, and 37 are teammates. So Caleb McKinney, Nicholas Barton, and James Garland all working together here this evening. And for Randall, Barton says 22 has a top 10 finish on his Christmas list. Oh, baby, Randall. Hopefully Christmas can come early for him. Hopefully we can see that beautiful Shaw Landscaping 22 ride up here, having himself a solid afternoon and maybe getting his Christmas wish and parking it up inside the top 10. Maybe, hey, maybe even, I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. Maybe a top 5, top 3 run there for Shaw is potentially on the horizon, man. These Daytona races, any of these plate races that we come to, whether it's in the Outcast Racing Series, real life NASCAR, or any of the other series that we do, when it comes to plate racing, it is kind of like the great equalizer when it comes to the super speedways, because everyone's kind of on the same playing field. Everyone's on the same kind of game plan. Everyone's kind of on the same action, and for a lot of these drivers, they know that, you may not be the best when it comes to short track or intermediate speedways. You may not be very good at all when it comes to road courses, but when it comes to super speedways, whether or not you got the speed or not purely in the setup, it doesn't really matter when you're in this draft. All you got to be is in the right place at the right time, and you can put yourself up and into victory lane. As Anna Alessandro in the chat coming in showing the love here in this one. How are you, Anna? Anna coming in showing the love says, what up, Peacemaker? What up, Anna? How are you? How you doing today? Hopefully you're having yourself a wonderful, wonderful Sunday here this evening as you get to tune in and enjoy some of our 200-lap, 500-mile Goss 500 championship race here with the Outcast Racing League as the 49er Kurt Sponsler leads the way, and it's now all Elite Sim Racing here at the front of the field. Elite Sim Racing currently holds the top 4 positions here in this feature event with Sponsler, Cameron Combs, Rob Tuwiscu, and Al Reed all out in front here with Josh Bromfield back in that 5th position here in this race. Johnny Thunders, Mike Killingbeck, they are in 7th with Billy Jordan, James Garland, and Nicholas Barton rounding out our top 10. Caleb McKinney's there in 11th with Chad Lancaster, Casey Gross, Gary Wright, Anthony Garland, who was able to get the lucky dog back on the lead lap and back into the action here. He rolls in that 15th position. Devin Black in 16th with Chris Muse back in 17th. Grant Humphrey, Tyler Humphrey there in 18th and 19th. And now we do see Brandon Puffenbarger and Corey Crowell coming back down pit road. So for these two drivers that already lost the draft, they were trying to work together to try to keep themselves on the lead lap. Now taking the gamble here to come down pit road, potentially use up a quick repair here for Corey Crowell as he still had that right front damage. I'm not sure if we're going to get a better look at it, but it does look like that damage has been repaired rather quickly down pit side. So if he's had to use that one and only quick fix here this evening, he's got to hope that he does not get tied up in another wreck, another issue, as it could take him out of the championship battle here this season. But he does fall a lap down. So does Brandon Puffenbarger. Edward Belair already a lap down, back in that 20th position. But for Grant Humphrey and Tyler Humphrey, they're back here deeper in the field as well, just trying to keep on rolling here, trying to keep themselves in the battle and hoping to, potentially trying to just, be there at the end. And that's the key. We've talked about it throughout this race, is just being there. And after that first caution flag, we saw how many drivers got tore up and how many drivers ended up with some very serious damage and put into such a difficult position, after lap 50 56 laps into this feature event, and you're using up a quick repair, you're using up, time down pit road, or having this damage that sets you back in this race, as much as there's a lot of laps left, there's still a lot of opportunities to get back into the battle, to get laps back or anything else. You can't take that gamble, you can't take that risk, and especially using that quick repair up early on puts you into a difficult position, because you could be parked down pit road for 2 hours with repairs before you're able to get back in on the racetrack, and this race will probably more than likely be over by that point in time. So you just got to be very, very cautious on how, you kind of, use that quick repair or put yourself into a position that you need to use it. You want to kind of save it until late in this race, closing laps, something happens, a big wreck, bruise, and all of a sudden you end up, tore up and absolutely destroyed out there on the speedway, and your only fighting chance to get back into the race, to get back into the action, is by having that quick repair in your back pocket. And if you don't have it, then your chances of either, winning the championship or winning this race or having a good finish off the season are out the window. So I think that's kind of calmed down a lot of these drivers. You see a lot more single file like we saw there early on in that first stage. Drivers just, a little bit more content here with rolling and just trying to click some of these laps off, get closer to the finish here this afternoon, and hoping that they can, be there at the end and in a position to potentially win this race or championship here this evening. As Kurt Sponsler Jr. continues to lead the way, his Elite Sim Racing teammates right there behind him with Cameron Combs, Rob Tuiscu, and Al Reed rounding out our top 4. Josh Bromfield there in 5th with Johnny Thunders, Billy Jordan, and Mike Killingbeck, our top 8 here on the Speedway, as Nicholas Barton and Chad Lancaster in that Goss 02 ride, rounding out our top 10 here on the racetrack. Our top 10 right now running pretty decently, running pretty solid. As Chris says, the Thunder is rolling. Yes, the Thunder is rolling. Johnny Thunders rolling pretty nicely here this evening, man. Looking good, looking strong. The foul out 60 ride, having a good run here this evening. And we do see that beautiful 16 Forever, the beautiful Biffle tribute here on the hood of Mike Killingbeck as well, man. We love to see that, as Killingbeck showing the love here to the late, great, and pounding heartbreaking news there 2 days ago. Greg Biffle and his family, unfortunately, passing away in the plane crash in North Carolina. And, throughout our races on Friday night and here this evening, a lot of drivers have, shown their love and admiration for Greg Biffle and showing the love here, man. And our hearts and prayers go out to obviously the entire Biffle family, that still is with us, and obviously to the entire other families. I believe it was the Dutton family, and I can't remember the other one, but to everyone else on board and to their families, man, our hearts and prayers go out to them. And we love to see some of these drivers with their beautiful, Greg Biffle memorials on their race cars here, supporting him here this afternoon in our championship race. As Killingbeck rolls there in that 8th position, he does have the beautiful Quantum Motorsports number 14 ride of Billy Jordan right there in front of him. Nicholas Barton there in that 9th spot with Chad Lancaster back in that 10th position in our series sponsor, in our race sponsor here this evening. As Chris says, Sweet 16, baby. Yeah, Sweet 16, forever 16. Greg Biffle, man, forever in our hearts. As Casey Gross, another Quantum ride, rolls there in 11th with Gary Wright back in position number 12. There we see that Ghost Warheads, number 37 ride of James Garland. Garland rolls in 13th with Caleb McKinney. And the Overton's number 76 back in 14th. Chris Muse's Monster Energy, number 99, rolls there in that 15th position. Devin Black back in position number 16. 16 here on the Speedway. Grant Humphrey and his must-love Poodles, number 48, right there in 17th with his twin brother, the Landesco, number 9 ride of Tyler Humphrey, rolls there in 18th. Poor Boy Motorsports, Peacemaker Gaming, number 81 ride, the man with the plan, the master man here with this series. The 81 of Anthony Garland bringing up the tail end of the lead lap here in the 19th position. It's the 25 ride of Edward Belair, currently 1 lap down. Now he is in the lucky dog position. If there were to be a caution flag, he is in line for that lucky dog, and they wave around to get back on the lead lap for Brandon Puffenbarger and Corey Crowell. They both find each other, 1 lap down out on the racetrack after, already dealing with, some of their struggles, obviously having to kind of hang out a little deeper in the pack here and, trying to deal with the damage that was on that 2 ride. They have made their green flag pit stops here in this stage. They've gotten their cars repaired, and they're trying to run good lap times. They're trying to stay competitive here and hoping that they can stay at least at 1 lap down here, but down across the line, our race leader's already almost 7/10 of the way around this racetrack. So for Cameron Combs, Kurt Sponsler, Rob Tuiscu, that really does set them up here to potentially try and maybe put Corey Crowell 2 laps down here in this race, and that would be a heartbreaking position for that 2 ride, even if things cycle through and they get back here. I don't know if they're going to be on the lead lap or not. It's going to be really, really close. It may be almost in the same area or maybe a lap down even after our race leaders elect to come down pit road, and especially with, how many laps these guys are going to continue to keep on running. They're currently, running at least a second to almost 2 seconds slower than our race leaders. That is the difference between being in a 2-car pack, a 2-car tandem out there on the racetrack, or battling here and being a part of this lead pack, that you're running that 2 seconds slower per lap, and that is definitely going to chew into their opportunity here this evening, especially for the win, but also for the championship for that 2 ride of Corey Crowell. That issue may have set him back farther than what I think he realized, and for Corey Crowell, he's just got to hope that, they get to the stage break, that they stay on the lead lap, and that they don't fall a lap down, but virtually they're a straightaway away from potentially losing another lap, and honestly, with everyone else probably still having to make 1 more pit stop. But I don't know, man. If they back it down here, if they don't run quite as fast laps, or if they've already been saving fuel, I think there's a few drivers that may be able to get there, as everyone was last down pit road on lap number 58. So this would be a 42-lap run. They can make it about 37 to 40 laps on a tank of fuel, but with fuel savings, maybe they can go a little bit farther. Maybe they can make it 42 laps and keep that 2 ride of Corey Crowell trapped a lap down deep in this field in a very difficult position for currently our only playoff driver and championship competitor that is a lap down out on the racetrack, and that is not a fun spot to be. But out in front, it is Cameron Combs, Kurt Sponsler, 1 and 2 here on the racetrack as the Elite Sim Racing team continue to just hang on to the top 4 positions. They continue to hold pace here and keep everyone else back there at bay, but as this stage draws in a little closer and closer, you gotta wonder on when drivers may finally elect to make their way down pit road. When do they decide to, jump down pit road, put themselves into a position to try and, flip the stage maybe? If they can make it to somewhere around lap number 98, 97, maybe they don't pit during the stage break. Maybe they stay out there during that stage break and being able to stay out in front, but I don't know. It's gonna get really, really interesting. And then that final stage being 100 laps in distance with potentially no caution flags could definitely come right down to the wire. Could definitely come really, really interesting here later on as we do start to see these guys breaking up a little bit more and starting to get a little bit more too wide here once again as the 70 rider Killingback goes to the outside lane. He's got his teammates right there with them. Here comes Devin Black. Here comes the Tampa Motorsports team trying to work their way up towards the front of the field here this evening as, man, they're just trying to race their way right up here, trying to battle again again for maybe another stage win as they roll to the outside groove. It's Killingbeck, Devin Black, the 9 ride in the Landesco machine of Tyler Humphrey, the 25 of Edward Belair in that number 48, the Must Love Poodles machine of Grant Humphrey, all working their way out in front here of this field. As you do see the 70 ride of Killingbeck jumps down in front of that 15 ride of Cameron Combs. So Combs does fall back into second, Killingbeck out in front. And for the Lawrence Tech University ride, that 70 machine of Mike Killingbeck now has the race lead once again. But here comes his teammates as the 7 ride of Devin Black, the 9 of Tyler Humphrey, and the rest of them right there in line. They're getting a little extra help here as well from that 37 of James Garland and the 76 of Caleb McKinney. As the outside lane starting to battle here a little bit tougher, man. We'll have to wait and see if more drivers will like to jump in there. I'll like to get into that battle and fight here at the front of the field for what could be another stage win. As much as it doesn't mean anything, it can really build some pride and really, maybe signs up what you need to do, what you have to do, or what you need to try to fix here late in this race. Because this could play out exactly the same when it comes down to our 200th lap. This could be the same scenario. This could play out the exact same way. So for a lot of these drivers, this is a huge learning experience on what you need to do in the closing, 15, 20, 10 laps of this feature event to make sure that you're lined up and that you're sized up perfectly here for that checkered flag. But we do see the caution flag come out. Yellow flag is displayed. Oh, brother. What happened here? Oh, it looks like Grant Humphrey. Oh, no. The Must Love Poodles ride of Grant Humphrey. Looks like James Garland. Heavy damage here for James Garland as the caution flag will come back out here. Looks like contact maybe down the back straightaway right there. There it is. All right, so James Garland and Grant Humphrey get tied together, and round they go down the back straightaway. I don't know how we missed that, but let's take a look at it, see what happened here. So James is on the back bumper right there, pushing this 48 ride. Now, obviously, the drivers in front of them are moving around, so the air's getting dumped here, and it looks like for the 48, he's trying to get in line behind the 25 and the 37. Just continue to keep kind of bouncing back and forth right there, especially for the 37 ride of James Garland. And unfortunately, I think for James, it just gets into that right rear quarter panel. Unfortunately, trying to stay on the back bumper, continue to try to carry that speed and momentum down the back straightaway here. You can see the line starting to go towards the outside fence. It kind of comes back to the middle. So Grant Humphrey gets back in line behind his teammates here in that 25. The 37 goes to follow him, gets into the back end of him right there. And obviously the 25 is a little bent out of shape. And the 48 kind of just holds his line. And the 37 just tries to get back in line through the back bumper of that 25 machine. Unfortunately, they get tied together. Around goes Grant Humphrey. Solid contact into the outside fence. And unfortunately for James here, he's going to get kind of a little bit more of that fence as well. They're heavy damage there for both drivers as Grant Humphrey and James Garland get twisted together there. Just tough bump drafting. And unfortunately, that really sets them back here in this one. And now we are going to see some drivers like to come down pit road. Other drivers going to stay out here for the stage break, as we do see Johnny Thunders, Billy Jordan. You look at some of the other ones that are electing to come down pit road here. Here comes Chris Muse, Jan Lancaster down there. Grant Humphrey obviously looking to get some repairs done to his 48 ride. He's down pit road. Gary Wright, Casey Gross down pit side. Edward Belair also coming down pit road here. Now, this is a bit of a question mark one. I'm not sure why Belair decided to come down pit road right there. He was in line for the free pass position, but elects not to stay out right there. If he would have stayed out, he would have got the wave around. Our stage break still about 9 laps away. He would have been back on the lead lap, still would have been able to come down pit road and get fuel, but obviously electing to stay out a little bit longer as Corey Crowell did come down back pit road, and James Garland, looks like James is taking his car back down behind pit wall here and potentially out of this race. Brandon Puffenbarger also down pit road here in that 5 ride, so Puffenbarger is going to make an additional pit stop here as well. And for a lot of these drivers, it's going to get interesting here to see how this is going to play out. Obviously, fuel was kind of tight, and now we have our top 11 drivers not coming down pit road here during this caution flag. I think they were going to be probably short by a lap or 2 there if the yellow flag didn't get thrown. But I think maybe with this caution, they may be able to save enough fuel. They may be able to have enough left in the tank here that they can make it back to that stage break, and maybe they're going to try their luck here. Hope to see another caution flag maybe that will help them out later in this race. Maybe they know that they want to just try to keep this track position, not come down pit road right there, staying out in front of the field in hopes that if there is more calamities back there deeper in the field, that they can avoid them, as we'll get them all stacked up, racked up, ready to go back to green flag racing here in just a couple more moments, as we'll get a quick word in here from our sponsors over at Goss. Alrighty there, shout out to our race sponsor, Goss, here this evening. Huge shout out there to them coming on board here and making this the Goss 500 from Daytona International Speedway. As we'll get them all ready to rumble, ready to go back to green flag racing here. Going to be a short shootout to our checkered flag here, our green and white checkered flag, to not end this race, but to end stage number 2 here this evening, as the completion of lap 100 will be the end of our second stage of the day. And as these drivers get ready to go back to green flag racing, they will complete lap number 93, so it's going to be a 7-lap shootout. 7 laps here this evening to try and win the stage here this evening. They're trying to set yourself up. This could be exactly how a late race restart's going to play out. So for a lot of these drivers, this is great practice. This is exactly what you want to see. To kind of give yourself an opportunity to put yourself into a position to battle and to see what you need to do, where you need to be, and how you may need to maneuver or something different late in this race. As here we go. Out in front, the 70 of Mike Killingbeck. Great launch, great restart, but he's got to be feeling a little bit nervous. Has more of these elite sim racing rides back behind him than any of his own teammates. He's kind of in no man's land. He has no teammates around him. And right now with the elite sim racing team kind of surrounding him out here on the speedway, Killingbeck's going to have to just keep his foot to the throttle and hope that he can keep these guys back there at bay. As at any moment in time, that 49 ride, the 3 machine, can try and move him and put him into a bad position, or jump up out of line and potentially slide this 70 ride from hero to 0 in a quick hurry out there on the racetrack. As right now they're just going to kind of keep everyone in line 2 by 2 out here on the speedway in hopes that potentially they can use this exact same method to potentially try to win this race or win this championship later on this evening. As the 49 ride all over Mike Killingbeck's back bumper. Killingbeck is not a part of the championship, so really for the 49 ride or the 3 machine of Al Reed, they're really not too worried. They know that they don't have to beat the 70 ride. They only have to stay in front of the other 7 championship drivers, and we do see some cats. Oh baby, look out. That was a close call right here, obviously, for a couple of these drivers. As you take a look at Devin Black up the racetrack right here. Devin slides up the speedway after getting kind of into a three-wide battle, jumps to the outside, and unfortunately no one else really goes with him, but he gets loose on corner exit right there, and that's where we almost saw a big one right there. And luckily enough for Cameron Combs, Rob Tuiscu, they were able to keep their cars pointed in the right direction. Unfortunately for Devin Black, though, pretty solid contact, not only into those drivers, but also into that outside fence, as things have kind of straightened out a little bit more after that contact and after that issue. Things have kind of gotten a little bit more cool, calm, and collected as down across the line they will complete lap number 96. So 96 laps in here this evening as Killingbeck continues to lead the way, but with Kurt Sponsler Jr., Al Reed right there behind him, what do they do? What is their game plan here? If they're trying to, potentially get an early edition of what this, race finale may look like, if this plays out the same way, they're sitting in pretty good position. They don't really have to be an aggressor here. They can use this 70 ride of Mike Killingbeck kind of as a bit of a pick maybe later on in this race, or potentially try to use this 70 ride as just, a drafting help, a drafting tool to work into their advantage here later in this race, as it's kind of keeping the rest of the playoff competitors a little farther back here until they jump too wide or start to make more moves. They're kind of stuck back here, and for right now, that's kind of the way it's playing out, as you do see that two-ride of Corey Crowell. Crowell, he is a lap down. He's trying to race his way back up on the lead lap here. His teammate Brandon Puffenbarger did get the wave around, did get the lucky dog back on the lead lap. Unfortunately for Edward Belair, he has still scored one lap down and now currently sits in behind Corey Crowell. So for Crowell, he's in the lucky dog position. This would be a massive break for that Mars ride, as the two-machine, Corey Crowell, wants to get back into this fight, wants to run for this championship. Now, he doesn't have the quick repair maybe back in his back pocket, but still a fighting chance here in this race if he gets back on the lead lap here this evening. And with only a few laps left to go here in this stage, potentially in line to win that lucky dog here today, as the number 70 ride of Mike Killingbeck out in front, continuing to lead the way. You see that second lane starting to get built up right now, and unfortunately for a lot of these other playoff drivers, the second lane, our highest running playoff competitor and championship hopeful, is that two-ride of Corey Crowell. No one was able, or no one took the risk to jump up into that outside lane to try and see if they could get a run or a push or something that could work them here to the front of the field and into potentially the championship. They all stay down low. Maybe they're just taking it easy. Maybe they know how this is going to play out. They know that that was maybe their time to shine and their time to make that move and jump to the outside, and unfortunately didn't take their chance, didn't want to try to put themselves into a bad situation, so they just stayed with it on the bottom lane. But for a lot of these drivers, this is going to give you exactly what we may see in 100 laps from now, and where these drivers will have to be on that final lap to potentially put themselves into the same position. If you're Kurt Sponsler, if you're Al Reed, you're feeling A-OK. If you're Bromfield or that 76 of Caleb McKinney, you got to know that you're going to have to make some more moves. You're going to have to make some different choices. You do see Mike Killingbeck wash up the racetrack there, trying to keep that 49 ride back at bay. Look out, there's contact back behind him, but down and through the tri-oval, making the move and winning the stage is the 49 of Kurt Sponsler Jr. So Kurt Sponsler Jr. wins the stage, but there was mayhem back behind them. Let's just throw this back into reverse and see what happens. It looked like as they were starting to shuffle around the 3 ride and the 49, they go to the high side here. So they start to move up. The 70 ride of Killingbeck kind of goes with them right here. So Killingbeck tries to throw the block, and forces them up to that outside lane. And then this is where we're going to see Johnny Thunders and that 15 ride of Cameron Combs kind of get right into the middle of this battle, and all of a sudden They're getting a little bit more long jammed. The 15 kind of jumps to the middle. The 6 right doesn't really go with him. There's contact there between Tuwiscu and Cameron Combs. It puts Cameron. Hard contact up and into the outside fence here. And then everyone else trying to scatter. You see Chris Muse in the 25 ride get tied together right there. Muse gets sideways. The 25 rides tied in there with him. And unfortunately for both of these drivers, they're spinning around, and eventually, finally, the 25 ride loses the handle, shoots up the racetrack, and right into the lap. The 22 ride of Nicholas Barton. Barton just nowhere for him to go. And again, for Barton, man, just tough break, man. Tough break. This is the second time we've seen him kind of just get tied up in something that really was no fault of his own, was really nothing that he could do about it. Just wrong lane selection or just wrong place at the wrong time. And right here, looks like the outside's open, and then all of a sudden, here comes that 25 ride right into your lap, and nowhere for you to go. But that does complete our second stage of the day. So our second stage here in this one going to be really, really interesting. And yeah, there was a lot of drivers that were very close to getting through that one. As Deb says, let's go, Kurt. Awesome racing, bud. Awesome racing out there. Yeah, awesome racing for Kurt Sponsor, the entire field here this evening, putting together a great run and great show here in this one, man. As Muscle Pool says, Tyler barely skirting that one. Yeah, barely got by there, barely survived what could have been a big hit and a big wreck here, midway through this race. But now we are in to the second half of tonight's feature event. Ladies and gentlemen. We now have completed 101 laps of racing action. We have 99 laps left to go. So just over halfway through. Halfway to go here this evening. Hopefully you guys are in for the long haul. Hopefully you guys got your popcorn and ready to see what is going to be a very intense, as this final stage. There is no more stage breaks. There is no more, competition caution flags technically out there on the racetrack. It is only real caution flags for incidents. And obviously, for these drivers, they know that they got 99 laps, 98 laps before this checkered flag, meaning that they're going to have to make at least 2 green flag pit stops here throughout this cycle. So potentially 2 green flag pit stops, abiding other caution flags that make it, maybe 1 less. I'm assuming we're going to see at least 1, but could be 2 full out green flag pit stops here for these drivers. And, mistake down pit road, speeding down on pit lane, or, just looping around like we saw the 81 do earlier, not get a yellow flag for it. That could put you into a position where you kind of eliminate yourself from the championship battle here in this race. So you gotta be absolutely perfect here. Can't have any mistakes. You gotta make sure that you're still in the hunt here this evening. And for Corey Crowell got the lucky dog. And for the 2 ride, and Mars ride back on the lead lap, as Joshua Neal just let us know in the chat. He's back into the lead lap and back into the action. So for one of our playoff drivers that was unfortunately, deeper in this hunt at the front, that was kind of stuck back there a lap down for probably a little longer than I think he wanted to, and now back on the lead lap, back into the action. Interesting to see what Corey Crowell's got up his sleeve late in this race. You look back deeper at drivers like Grant Humphrey or Edward Belair, Devin Black. Unfortunately for Devin, he's been down pit road here a couple times. He's fallen a lap down now. So has Nicholas Barton. Barton's now at least a lap down, maybe 2. So for a couple of these other drivers, some of the non-playoff drivers, obviously put into a very difficult position, but for some of the others, still very much in this battle. We'll go through our restart grid, but we'll go through some of our championship competitors that are still, in this battle. They're still right here in this fight. It starts with our race leader, Kurt Sponsler, right in line here to try to win this championship. His teammate Al Reed right there behind him, one of our championship 8. Same with the 12 rider Josh Bromfield, who will restart in 4th, and our 5th place driver Caleb McKinney, also a part of the playoffs. Our 6th place driver here for the restart, the 9 rider Tyler Humphrey, also a part of these playoffs here. So we got through 5 of our championship 8 inside the top 6 here this evening, and then they kind of get a little bit more broken up out there on the racetrack. You got to look all the way back here to that 77 ride of Casey Gross, the 48 of Grant Humphrey, who still has some pretty solid front end damage on that Muscle of Poodles ride, and the 2 ride of Corey Crowell, who's back in 16. So if you're Crowell, Grant Humphrey, or that 77 of Casey Gross, you know that you're a little bit behind the 8 ball here when it comes to some of our other championship drivers that are up inside the top 10, inside the top 6 here this evening, and that you're going to have to try to find another gear, try to find your way up to the front here and into the mix, into the battle here for this championship. It's Kurt Sponsler. Great restart, great launch there for the 49 ride. Sponsler will hold on to the race lead as once again you see that outside lane just kind of fall apart, dissipate here once again on that restart. I think later in this race you'll see them battle it out tooth and nail there in that outside lane, especially with the late race restart. But I think for right now, a lot of these drivers are going to continue to just kind of stay, you know, a little bit more single file, maybe stay a little bit more at ease, a little deeper in the field. There's still a lot of laps, a lot of time to race your way up towards the front and to put yourself back into contention here later in this race. As of right now, you know, you probably still got another 40, 50 laps of kind of just, you know, being maybe on cruise control, maybe even 60, 70 laps before you really start to push the picture and try to battle your way up through the field here. But for the most part, it's just more or less keep yourself in the draft, keep yourself on the lead lap, and keep on battling here this evening. Just keep on swimming for each and every one of these drivers. Be there at the end and give yourself hopefully a chance at winning this championship. It's nice and easy down and out of corner number 4, back down and across the line for Kurt Sponsler. He will lead lap 105 here this evening. So 105 laps completed. Let's jump into our first NASCAR Crank It Up. So let's jump into our Peacemaker Gaming NASCAR Crank It Up here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you guys know what to do, man. Crank up that volume and cheer on your favorite drivers here this evening. Cheer them on in the comment section right now here in our championship race. Alrighty, a beautiful crank it up session here this evening in our season finale as the Outcast Racing League drivers. Tonight is their championship night. This is their last opportunity, and the laps are clicking down on the season. In a quick hurry here, our 10th season now with Outcast Racing League. 10 seasons of being in existence, and man, it's been an amazing 10 seasons. So many great drivers have come and gone. Some still here, still battling and competing week in and week out. But for right now, a new round of drivers hoping to try and punch their way through to become a champion here, whether or not it's previous champion when you look back at Al Reed or maybe Josh Bromfield, but other drivers still looking for their first championship here with the Outcast Racing League. One of those being Kurt Sponsler. Kurt, who continues to lead this race. Kurt's been out front. He's led a lot of laps here this evening. This Elite Sim Racing team seems very strong, but so did the Tampa Motorsports group early on as well. Look very strong here, and we'll have to wait and see late in this race if they can kind of jump up here, make a comeback into it, and see if they can put themselves right into the battle here at the front of the field. But these drivers, they know that they're starting to lose a little bit of time here as they're seeing these laps click down. 125 laps completed, 75 laps left to go. Knowing that they have less than half this race left to duke it out, left to compete in the battle for this championship, you know, it really starts to come into that picture frame here of where are your teammates, where can you get that help into your back bumper, into your, you know, drive here into potentially winning this race or championship here this evening. And at the same point in time, you got to try to figure out your fuel strategy. When you come down pit road, when you make this first wave of green flag pit stops, as that's right around the corner. It's been 25 laps since drivers were down pit side. They've probably got about another 10, 15 laps to go before they start to work their way down pit side. So knowing that you have to come down pit road here sooner rather than later, you know, when do you make that call? When do you make that decision? You want to make sure you give yourself enough time that you can make it another 40 laps. Make sure that you get within your picture frame here of being able to make that final pit stop, not having to worry about making another pit stop. So probably somewhere around lap number, I'm going to say 175, lap 170, maybe 165. You're going to make that final pit stop, knowing that you're good on fuel, that you can make it to the end of this race no matter what happens. You can stay out and not have to make a pit stop for fuel later on this evening. So I think for a lot of these drivers, they're getting closer and closer to that number. And I think once they kind of hit it, we're going to see some teams, maybe some drivers, risk it for the brisket, maybe pit a little bit sooner, maybe wait a little bit longer. It's going to come down to these late race calls, and honestly, if you really want to give yourself the best opportunity to try to win this race, is you're going to be trying to work with a lot of these other teams that are smaller, a lot of these teams that have, you know, non-playoff drivers in them. If you can have those drivers to, you know, give you a helping hand to pit at the same time as you do, that could really put you into a better position coming off of pit road and getting lined back up, building that draft back up, and trying to stay, you know, maybe a little bit ahead of this lead pack. So if you're Kurt Sponsler, Al Reed, you know, the rest of the Elite Sim Racing team, you're hoping that you can find drivers kind of like maybe Josh Bromfield, Anthony Garland, you know, drivers that have a few less cats in their team or in their stable to kind of help you out here and just bring maybe one of those other championship drivers with you into what could be a winning strategy compared to later on. Or if you come down with, you know, you don't want to pit at the same time as Tampa Motorsports, knowing that you're going to have both Grant and Tyler a part of that battle. But if you can get Gary Wright, or maybe, you know, the Dark Horse Motorsports team to come with you, maybe the Midwest Motorsports to come with you, where it kind of eliminates or maybe sets some of those other playoff drivers a little farther back that could help you out a little bit more later in this race. So I think for a lot of these guys, that's kind of what they've been working on. That's what they've been trying to do, try to line up here. If they can kind of work with some of these drivers, kind of put themselves into a position that they can maybe get an advantage here, but it's actually kind of a crazy playoff scenario here. 4 Point Motorsports Group, they have one playoff driver. Quantum has one. championship competitor. When we look at Elite Sim Racing, they have 2 in Al Reed and Kurt Sponsler. Tampa's got 2 with Grant Humphrey and Tyler Humphrey. And then you look at the Dark Horse Motorsports. They've got 1 championship driver with Caleb McKinney. The Midwest team has 1 playoff driver and championship competitor with Corey Crowell. So virtually almost every team has at least 1 playoff driver. Now, some of these teams have, 4 to 5 drivers in them. Other teams have, 2 or 3 in them. So if you can kind of work with maybe 1 or 2 of those teams that have 1 or 2, maybe 3 playoff or 3 drivers in that team, you can try to help you out late in this race. It's better to have some good friends and try to help yourself out maybe a little bit more later on than put yourself into a hole where you don't work with anybody and then nobody works with you later in this one. This is the longest bathroom break in history. It was a bit of a longer one. But we do have obviously 200 laps of racing action. And being the lone man up here in the booth, being the only person that runs the broadcast, I'm going to take a little bit of an extended time there. Make sure I get an opportunity to go pee, get my bottle of water refilled, and maybe have a quick little smoke break in there as well, and kind of relax for a couple minutes as we're back into it. We're back to battle, and we're back into the action now, as definitely going to have those bathroom breaks in there. Obviously, for myself, I'm not a competitor, I'm not a racer, I'm just a guy up here in the broadcast booth bringing you guys the amazing racing action. But we brought you guys the amazing sights and sounds here at Daytona International Speedway as these drivers put on just an absolute epic showdown here this afternoon, man. An absolutely amazing race. 200 laps, 500 miles of racing action. And these guys have not disappointed as of yet, man. Only, 2 caution flags for incidents, I think, here this evening. Only 2 yellow flags for actual wrecks. One of those was being right at the end of the stage break. So really just very minimal caution flags, very minimal issues here throughout this race. And for a lot of these drivers, still very much in contention. Unfortunately, that stage break caution flag, it did set a few drivers back here a little bit. For Chris Muse, he did end up falling a lap down here. So Muse currently, he's sitting up inside of what would be the top 5. Unfortunately for Muse, he's a lap down, but he is in that lucky dog position. Edward Belair still a lap down himself. Cameron Combs also 1 lap down here in that beautiful John Deere number 15 as he rolls there in 19th. Devin Black, unfortunately, has had to make a couple additional pit stops here, and unfortunately the damage that he got there during that second wreck has cost him about, I want to say, 9 laps now on the racetrack, so he's about 9 laps down, pretty much out of contention of this one, but can still be there to try to help his teammates out, to try to help out his Tampa Motorsports teammates, try to win this championship here this evening. Unfortunately for Nicholas Barton, oh, look out, there goes the 15 ride. Oh no, the Tampa Motorsports team tied up in it as Tyler Humphrey, Grant Humphrey's back there, the 25 ride of Edward Belair, the 7 of Devin Black. Oh, man, Cameron Combs going around right there, bringing that caution flag out. Cameron just trying to survive here this evening. Obviously, starts with Edward gets a good run here. He's looking to the outside, jumps down low here. There's a little bit of room there, but not much, and he just forces his way down there. I'm not sure what the game plan was there with that one, but he gets too far down low, ends up getting into that left rear quarter panel of the 15 ride of Cameron Combs to spin him out, and unfortunately, in the outsider's curse, maybe kind of jinxed us right there, as you do see Tyler was able to get through there without any major contact or issues. Got a little sideways down on the apron, but it's really between the 15, the 25, and that 7 ride of Devin Black, who all end up with some pretty solid damage out of this caution flag, as you see 25 get back up into the outside fence right there. Cameron turned around backwards, but let's see if we can get another look at this and another look through here on what the 25 ride Edward Belair, what his game plan was here. I mean, they were sitting back deep in the field. They were back, towards the bottom 15 drivers here. gets a run, just takes it into the gap right there. I just don't see the theory into trying to squeeze it in there. Not really moving forward. You're a lap down driver anyways. You're not really battling for the lucky dog position with Cameron Combs. They're both one lap down. You see the 25 virtually onto the apron himself, trying to get low enough to make the pass here on that 15 right. Obviously not enough room. They make contact, and finally around goes that 15 right. They both wash up the Speedway. Hard contact up into the outside fence for Cameron Combs. The 25 shoots back down the racetrack, luckily enough, avoiding his two playoff contending teammates there in the Humphrey twins. Unfortunately does end up running right into his other teammate, though, the 7 right of Devin Black, and that brings us right to the, I don't even know what we're on now. 5th caution flag, something like that now. Yep, 5th caution flag now on the evening, so our 5th yellow flag has been displayed, and for these drivers, it brings everybody down pit side. Everyone's going to hit pit road and make sure that they are ready to rock and roll for the 99 rider, Chris Muse. Good news for Muse, as that does give him the lucky dog, the wave around back on the lead lap for the 99 ride. So Chris Muse back into the battle, back into contention here this evening. So great break there for the 17 or for the 99 ride, who's currently scored in the 17th position. But for all these other drivers, that was kind of a timely caution flag. I think they were really, really close to probably coming down pit road and making their first wave of green flag pit stops. So I think that kind of eliminated at least that wave of green flag stops here this evening. And it's still Kurt Sponsler out in front. His teammate Rob Tuisku will come out in second. Caleb McKinney back in third. Al Reed there in fourth. Mike Killingback rounding out our top 5 with Josh Bromfield, Anthony Garland, Gary Wright, Chad Lancaster and his Goss 02 ride there in 9th, and Billy Jordan rounding out our top 10. Tyler Humphrey, luckily enough, in the Landesco number 9 ride, the Must Love Poodles machine, able to avoid contact there between himself and his teammates, and for him and his twin brother, Grant Humphrey, will get to continue battling here this evening. As here we go, we do see Corey Crowell, Brandon Puffenbarger. There's the 48 ride of Grant Humphrey exiting pit road. Now for Grant, still has a bit of that right front damage here on that 48 ride. Now obviously going to use this caution flag to try to get that car repaired, fixed back up, and back into working condition without having to use that quick repair. Save it for a little bit later in this race during what could be the big one or something that gets him tore up out there on the racetrack. So we'll have to wait and see how these drivers are going to be able to handle that, as Johnny Thunders, Casey Gross back in 15th and 16th. Chris Muse will be scored in 17th, the last driver on the lead lap now, as Cameron Combs will now be scored as the first car 1 lap down. Edward Belair will be also a lap down here, and for Chris Muse, he's got to get out here in a quick hurry. He's got to get out in front of that pace car, try to keep himself on the lead lap here. Looks like he is going to be able to get out there, so that's a great break there for the 99 ride, as Mustlaw Poodle says, holding my breath, hoping Grant got some repair done. Yeah, looked like he got a bit done. Looks like he's going to head back down pit road again. He's going to get some additional repairs. Obviously, the crew working, thrashing away, trying to get this car back to 100%, or at least pretty close to, being good enough for the rest of this race. Now, obviously, trying to keep that lucky, or that quick repair just in their back pocket. I think that's a must-have for majority or all of our playoff drivers, unless if you've already been caught up in a big wreck and have had major issues and have been set back quite a bit in this race, or potentially could have been a game-over issue. I think obviously you've had to use that quick repair up, but if you want to kind of keep yourself in it, now for Chris Muse, too long down pit road there. We thought that was a close call, and it looks like iRacing is going to catch Muse. He was too late down pit side, and unfortunately for the 99 rider, Chris Muse, he was able to get the lucky dog, the wave around back on the lead lap, and he gives it right back. He did not get off of pit road before the pace car went past that pit road exit and virtually lapped himself again, and will now be scored as a lap down once again in this race. And tough break there for Chris Muse. Tough break there. Just able to get back into the action, just able to get back into the battle, and then all of a sudden, you shoot yourself in the foot like that, and Now will be a lap down again. We'll have to battle here with the 25 right Edward Belair, the 15 Cameron Combs, and hope to see another caution flag that he's not a part of to try and get another wave around, another lucky dog back into the lead lap here. As here we go. Good restart here for the Elite Sim Racing team as the outside lane got off to a great launch right there with Kurt Sponsler, Al Reed able to quickly jump out in front. Now they're hoping that they can get their teammate filled in behind them, but it does look like potentially, oh no, we'll have to wait and see if race control calls that or not, but there is a black flag on the 3 ride, but there it is. It has been waved off by iRacing, so iRacing has cleared that penalty. They thought potentially he had jumped that start, but he didn't jump it. He was fired behind the initial start car. Just the inside lane did not get going, and for the 3 in the 49 ride, strategy worked out pretty nicely for them. Now, obviously, we do see Caleb McKinney get into 3rd here. Rob Tuwiscu falls back into position number 4 there on the Speedway, killing back there in 5th. But right now, our top 3, all playoff competitors, all playoff drivers here this evening. And then our 4th and 5th place driver, when you look at Tuwiscu and Killingbeck, are both non-playoff competitors. That 12 rider Josh Bromfield, he's currently the 4th highest playoff driver here, championship competitor here this evening, rolling in that 6th position. And then we got a slew of non-playoff cats here with, Anthony Garland, Gary Wright, Billy Jordan, the 0-2 a Chad Lancaster, the 5 right a Brandon Puffenbarger back in 11th, and then we see our 5th highest playoff running driver, Corey Crowell, scored back in that 12th position. Tyler Humphrey right there behind him, another playoff cat there in 13th, and then we got Johnny Thunders in 14th, and then we see a couple more of our playoff competitors here with Casey Gross and Grant Humphrey. Now for Grant, he was down pit road, he was getting those repairs, unfortunately did not get all the repairs done, and for that 48, he is not in this lead draft. This is a heartbreaker for that 48 run. He's going to need a quick caution flag. As of right now, he finds himself about 25 seconds behind our race leaders, 25 seconds behind the lead pack here, and unfortunately in a very, very difficult position because he may be quickly swallowed up by that lead group and put a lap down out there on the Speedway. Last time around, he ran a 51-second lap time. For our race leaders, they're running in the 46-second area, so they're running about 5-6 seconds quicker than Grant Humphrey, and within the next, I'm going to say 4 to 5 laps, they could easily be putting him a lap down and putting him into a difficult position to battle back from late in this race. And obviously, with less than 60 laps left to go now in this battle, in this championship, not a fun spot to be if you're that 48 rider, Grant Humphrey. Obviously trying to get as much done down pit side as possible, but unfortunately, looks like it may cost him more than I think he wanted to here during that last wave of pit stops, and unfortunately, it's going to set him back a ton. It's Kurt Sponsler, though, continues to lead the way. Al Reed right there with him in 2nd. Caleb McKinney in 3rd. Our top 3 playoff drivers here looking stout. They've been right up here for a lot of this race, especially most of the second half of the race. And we've been waiting patiently here to see if maybe some of those Tampa Motorsports rides, including Tyler Humphrey, Grant Humphrey, and some of these other cats could battle their way back up there. But we talked about that early on as they were able to really show that they were strong and they were working really good early on in this race, and they had a really good game plan. But unfortunately, once again, it looks like maybe another night where, the initial team that looks like they've got things figured out, things start to, little unwind throughout the middle portion. They just got to hope that they can clean it up, get back together, and back into the battle here before the end of this race. As Muslove Poodle says, we will see. Never count out a Humphrey. She says, never count out a Humphrey. You never count them out. As long as they're on the lead lap, as long as they're still driving out there on the Speedway, it ain't over until it's over, until that fat lady sings. And so far here this evening, we still got a lot of ways to go before we get there. Still a lot of laps here to try to figure this one out. But for Grant Humphrey, obviously not wanting to fall a lap down, not wanting to put yourself into that difficult position here in this race. Still running about that 51-second lap time, still about 5 seconds slower than our lead pack, and unfortunately, they're catching up to him in a quick hurry. Alrighty, as you see that damage still on the Must Love Poodles number 48 ride of Grant Humphrey, and you can hear our lead pack starting to reel them in here. There they are! They're right on them. We knew it wasn't going to be long before they were there. And now here they come in sight. One of their playoff competitors here for Kurt Sponsler, Al Reed, Caleb McKinney. They love to see this. They want to see some of their playoff competition go a lap down for the Tampa Motorsports and all the Humphrey fans in the stands. You don't want to see this because, unfortunately, Grant Humphrey is about to fall a lap down. He moves up the racetrack here, leaves that bottom lane open. Great veteran move there, respectful move, allowing these guys to battle around him here. Unfortunately for Grant, he does fall a lap down. Now, for the 48 ride, the goal is going to be to try to find a hole, to try to find an area that you can kind of get into, that you can kind of disturb this pack, and I think he's got it right here in between that 14 ride of Billy Jordan and Gary Wright, and that does kind of break up the pack here a little bit, but it does get him in front of the rest of the lap down drivers. Cameron Combs, the next car, 1 lap down, back in 17th. Chris Muse, unfortunately, has lost the draft as well. He's back here in 18th, and Edward Belair, also losing the draft back in that 19th position, is about to lose another lap out there on the racetrack. So for Muse and Edward Belair, things are not looking good for them either here, and especially with that 25, some pretty solid damage still on it here late in this race. And for the Tampa Motorsports rides, man, they just really want to get things figured out, trying to figure how they can get things kind of lined back up here, as you do see that 25 ride able to fall back in line here. And even with some lap traffic, some drivers that are a little bit more damaged and hurting a little bit more out there, they're trying to get lined up here. You see Grant Humphrey now going to get in line behind Devin Black and that 25 ride, but unfortunately Devin kind of gets a little bent out of shape right there. He's going to wash back up the racetrack, and unfortunately that pushes their teammate Grant Humphrey to the outside lane, and Grant's going to slide backwards here. Grant's going to continue to fall farther and farther back and closer to that 15 ride of Cameron Combs, the driver that he's going to have to desperately battle with to try to stay on the lead lap here this evening, or at least into that lucky dog position. Luckily enough, the 48 ride does find a hole, but now you see the 60, the 77, they're going to jump to the outside. They're going to try to get that second lane rolling, and as this second group really starts the battle, and with some slower traffic in front of them here with that 25 ride of Edward Belair, the 7 of Devin Black kind of leading this second group that's been built up. They are starting to fall farther and farther back from this lead pack here. You take a look at the 16 ride of Gary Wright only 3-4 laps ago. They were right there to the tail end of that 16 ride, but now they've been held up so much that they have fallen back 3 seconds from our lead group here. Right now, our top 8 have separated themselves immensely between themselves and that second group, and now with them battling door to door here, Billy Jordan up on the high side. You see that 25 ride down low. They're still battling side by side, and they're going to continue to fall farther and farther away from that lead group, from that lead pack. And unfortunately, they're going to desperately need a caution flag here late in this race to try to get them back into the battle, back into contention here, because this lead pack is just going to stay nose to tail. They're not going to back down. They're just going to stay hooked up here. They're not going to start battling door to door here for a while, as they know that they are continuing to pull farther away from that second group. And now that gap has grown to over 4 seconds, over 4.5 seconds, growing to almost 5 seconds between our 8th place driver Gary Wright and our 9th place driver, the 14 of Billy Jordan. Now you see Billy able to jump down low to the inside here. So doesn't Chad Lancaster, Johnny Thunders, Casey Gross right there with him. Now you see the 2 rider Corey Crowell. He's back here in this mix, and you throw in Brandon Puffenbarger, you throw in the Humphrey twins here as well at the tail end of that pack. They got to be really, really careful that they don't put themselves into a position where potentially they, fall out of the draft themselves or put themselves into a tough position trying to help out some of their teammates with damage and affecting their own performance and opportunity to win this race or championship here this evening. As Kurt Sponsler, Al Reed, Caleb McKinney, and Rob Tuwisku, Mike Killingbeck, our top 5, continuing to lead the way here in this one. Our top 8, they're happy to see it. They've separated themselves, and they're pulling farther and farther away from that second pack. They are feeling A-OK as of right now, especially if you are Sponsler, Al Reed, Caleb McKinney, or that 12 rider Josh Bromfield. As you know now, out of the top 8, there's only 4 of you left to battle for this championship. If it stays clean and green down to the checkered flag, you're sitting pretty right now. You've got a wave of green flag pit stops ahead of you, but if you can kind of come down together, kind of leave that second pack a little bit hopeless back there deeper in the field, it could definitely put you and drive you into what could be a championship battle instead of with all 8 championship competitors, but with only the 4 out there on the Speedway. And especially if you're Kurt Sponsler or Al Reed, that just gave you a 50-50 shot at potentially trying to win this championship for the Elite Sim Racing team. All you got to do is have one of you finish in front of that 76 of Caleb McKinney and the 12 of Josh Bromfield here in this lead pack. And now they've added an additional car. The 99 rider Chris Muse has fallen in the line. So Muse now into that pack is going to help them out a little bit more. That's going to give them a little extra drive, a little extra speed, and potentially a little bit more drive to pull farther away from that second group, as that gap has now grown to almost 6.5 seconds. Oh, brother, you got to feel for the playoff competitors back here, man, that if they don't catch a caution flag, that they're going to be in a very, very difficult spot. When you look back here at Casey Gross, you look at, Corey Crowell, Tyler Humphrey, Grant Humphrey, man, their chances are starting to run out here, and if things stay clean and green, your championship hopes may have just went out the window there. There's some big blocks out of that Tampa Motorsports team, and unfortunately, I could make this a bit of a whole different finish here, and could make things very, very intense later on, even more intense, especially if we get that late race caution flag. If it stays this way for the next, 40 laps until we're inside 10 laps left to go, we get a late race caution flag. And for the drivers that are in that second group that are probably starting to count themselves out of it, it really opens up the door for them to get a whole lot more aggressive, because they counted themselves out. They didn't think they were having a shot at winning the championship, but now you breathe a new piece of life into them, then they may get a little bit more frisky later in this race with that extra opportunity, that bonus life at battling for this championship. They may use it and take it for granted and push a little tougher, a little harder, trying to obviously make up strategy, make up ground, and obviously try to put yourself into a position to win this championship. So things are going to get very, very interesting here as we get later and later into this race. It's down across the line. They complete lap 155. So 155 laps completed here this evening. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Do we draw in a little bit closer here? Our checkered flag, because it's only 45 laps left to go, ladies and gentlemen. 45 laps left to go. Now, that is still a lot of laps. That is still a lot of time. That is still, I don't even know, 90 miles of racing action here this evening. So there's still a lot of time, a lot of racing left to go. But when you look at the clock here, you look at what these drivers have went through already. They've completed 155 laps. Another 45 laps is very small in comparison to the laps they had beforehand. And if you're sitting back there in that second group and you can see that you're falling farther and farther behind, oh man, it's got to make your stomach turn, as they're now over 10 seconds behind that lead pack. 10 seconds behind the lead pack. I don't understand how this second group is at least not staying even with them. They've been running quite a bit slower here. They have been continuously about 8/10 to a second slower, then that lead pack in running that much slower is just gonna, continue to hurt you in this race. I don't know if it's a fuel saving thing, if it's I don't know if it is just power. I don't know. Let's take a look there at that track map there. You see the track map there on the screen below our Gross logo here this evening, and for the Goss logo there, you see this second group has just went across the start finish line. That lead group is already heading down to the back straightaway, and these guys are just entering corner number 1. So showing you the comparison and how far behind that this second pack has fallen to that lead group. Almost the entire back straightaway as they exit corner number 2. That lead group is entering corner number 3, and man, this is definitely a heartbreaker for these guys back here deeper in the field. They're going to be hoping and praying that they see this late race caution flag, that something goes their way here and puts them into a position to get back into this battle. Let's see if we can jump on board here with this 14 rider. Billy Jordan is down the front straightaway. You don't really see him. You exit that tri-oval. Where's that lead group? They are still not in sight. You still cannot see them. They are gone from your windshield, and even seeing them pull farther and farther away, getting smaller and smaller out of your windshield here. And as they exit corner number 2, you can't even see them down the back straightaway, man. This is crazy. This is crazy how far that lead pack has been able to just pull away and run away in this race, as they are now over, I want to say 12 seconds ahead of that second group. Man, it is crazy. They're gaining a second a lap here on them. And over a 40-lap run, that sets you back, 40 seconds, even 30 seconds behind the lead pack. Late in this race, you can pretty much count yourself out of it without a late race caution flag. Now for this lead group, they're feeling A-okay. When you look at Kurt Sponsler, Al Reed, Caleb McKinney, Josh Bromfield, they know that they're sitting nicely here in this lead group. They're feeling A-okay. They know that they are in a good position here in this race, knowing that they are, pulling farther and farther away from that second group, from the rest of their playoff drivers. They know that they just, gave themselves a whole better chance at battling for this championship. And with some of these drivers, they got teammates up here, others not so much. When you look at, obviously, the Elite Sim Racing team, they sit 1 and 2 on the Speedway. Rob Tuwiscu, their third teammate, rolls there in that 4th position. Caleb McKinney, I do believe, here at the front of the field. I don't think Caleb's got any teammates here with him inside the top 8 right now. I don't think he's got any additional help. No one to really give him a hand out there on the Speedway. And that could definitely, hurt him here. And I do believe, his teammates have already been eliminated here really from this race, with James Garland, who's been down pit road for multiple laps, and Nicholas Barton also down pit side for multiple laps. Both drivers have not rejoined this race, and both have been done since lap 90 for the 37 ride and lap 101 for Nicholas Barton. And unfortunately, both drivers down and out of this race. They are absolutely no helping hand to their teammate in the Overton's number 76 ride. And for Caleb McKinney, he's just got to try to do it all on his own here. He's got to hope that he can work with some of these other teams, maybe squeeze or sneak his way into the battle here. And right now, it's kind of what he's done with the Elite Sim Racing group, as he's been right there in that 3rd position, being nice to them and working with them, and just trying to stay right here in this battle, and keeping himself in the hunt for this championship still, even though they may leave him high and dry late in this race. Stranger things have happened. Mike Killing back up here as well. He is, I do believe, the lone Tampa Motorsports ride here inside the top 5. Now, any of his teammates that are battling for the championship, the Humphrey twins, are in that second group, and unfortunately aren't up here with him, so really not much he can do except for just run his race and continue to battle here for maybe a good finish for that Lawrence Tech ride. For Josh Bromfield, he's got his teammate Anthony Garland with him, so at least he's got Garland. I do believe the 2 lap down, number 99, rider Chris Muse, also a part of that Poor Boy Motorsports team. So for Bromfield, they've got 3 competitors. They got 3 drivers up there as well to kind of battle and hunt for this championship with Josh Bromfield. So good break there. Good break there at least for Bromfield. So it could come down between the Poor Boy Motorsports and the Elite Sim Racing team if we don't get a late race caution flag, as Matt Humphreys says. Humphreys need a caution. Yeah, Humphreys desperately need a caution. Everyone outside our top 8 desperately needs a caution flag. They currently sit 16 seconds behind the lead pack. 16 seconds back now of that lead pack, and unfortunately continue to fall farther and farther away here, and these drivers are still quite a ways away from potentially having to make their next wave of green flag pit stops. Now I believe we're probably within the next 10 to 15 laps of seeing more and more drivers come down pit road. They may try to elect to go a little bit farther, but I feel somewhere around lap number 170 to 175 is when we're going to see a lot of these drivers come down pit road, make their final pit stops of the day, in hopes that they keep their track position, they keep in the battle, and that they can maybe catch a lucky break with the late race caution flag, where they may come down pit road, put fuel and tires in again. But as of right now, I think that's the way that the strategy is going. And if you're Billy Jordan, Chad Lancaster, obviously some of these guys back here that aren't a part of the playoff hunt, they're just kind of in their own race here. But unfortunately, it's kind of trapped drivers like Tyler Humphrey here. Tyler's back here. You take a look at Casey Gross, who's back here. The 2-rider Corey Crowell. These drivers, these 3 competitors for the championship. You throw in the 48 of Grant Humphrey, who's also a lap down. They're just in a very, very difficult position, and now they're going to be the first couple to come down pit road here. We see the Quantum Motorsports team come down pit side on lap 165. There's 35 laps left to go here in this race. They are good on fuel from this point on, but definitely taking that gamble, being the first group to come down pit road. So Thunders, Lancaster, Billy Jordan, and our playoff competitor, that's 77 of Casey Gross. They head down pit road here, and what they're hoping is going to be a last-ditch effort to try to give themselves a good opportunity. But, they need a caution flag, but now they need this to go clean and green. They can't risk it being a caution flag right now after losing a lap. That's still going to hurt them here in this race. And now we do see Tyler Humphrey, Corey Crowell. Here comes Brandon Puffenbarger, Cameron Combs also down pit road. Devin Black back down pit side here. Grant Humphreys down pit side. So these drivers making their potential final pit stops here as well. Now we'll have to wait and see how long this lead group stays out, and I think right now for this lead group, they gotta be telling each other right now over the radio, listen, we're gonna stay out this lap, we're gonna pit on this lap, and try to work together here. If they can stay as this lead group and stay, just pounding the rock here, just continue to keep on running the ball and just keep running away with this race, then it's gonna come down to a 4-car playoff late in this one compared to an 8-car playoff, binding a late race caution flag as the 49 rider Kurt Sponsler out in front, continuing to lead the way, man. I feel Kurt's definitely led the most laps here this evening, but I feel he's getting close to locking that down. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to leapfrog him as the most laps led here this evening, and for a playoff driver, that's an extra, little bonus to not really help your points out because there's no points, but your confidence could grow a ton right there. Knowing that you've been out in front, you've led so many laps, your team's right here with you, you should be feeling A-okay towards late in this race, biting some caution flags or anything else. So, gotta have that extra little bit of confidence that, this is his race, that he's leading it, he's not gonna give up this race lead, and he's gonna try to stay there out in front for the rest of this one as Kurt Sponsler just continues to keep on pounding that rock out in front, continue to lead this race. Al Reed there in second, Caleb McKinney in third, Rob Tuisku back in position number 4 with Mike Killingbeck, Josh Bromfield, Anthony Garland, and Gary Wright rounding out our top 8 here on the Speedway. You throw in the 99 rider Chris Muse. Muse, unfortunately, now a couple laps down, but for Muse, he is right in line here with his teammates and in a position to potentially try to help out his teammate Josh Bromfield win this championship late in this race. But that top 8 still yet to make their potential final pit stops here this evening, and I feel these guys are probably going to play the opposite end of the spectrum. Some other drivers came down early. These guys are probably going to stay out as long as they can and probably come back down pit road somewhere around, lap, I'm going to say somewhere around lap 80? 180, somewhere in there, lap 180, 175 maybe. They're going to stay out here for a little while longer. They want to see a caution flag and potentially kind of trap maybe some of these drivers a lap down or deeper in the field or in a very difficult position where it can give them not only the race lead still, but, fresh tires, a full tank of fuel, and not have to worry about losing very much track position or any track position at all out there on the Speedway with that late race yellow and still being somewhat in control of this race. It's Kurt Sponsler, Al Reed, Kill McKinney, 1, 2, and 3. Take a look back here at that second group. They have kind of got lined back up nicely together. Unfortunately, it does look like they've lost a couple drivers that were a part of this battle. And unfortunately now there are a few less cars, but they're still running pretty solid, pretty stout out there as Johnny Thunders leads that group. Chad Lancaster right there with them. Casey Gross, Tyler Humphrey, Corey Crowell. The 48 rides right in there as well as that 15 of Cameron Combs, as I do believe it is Chris Muse is the first driver 2 laps down potentially. I don't know. It's going to get tough. It's going to get tight here, especially with the caution flag, because it's going to catch a lot of drivers a lap down. Other drivers, multiple laps down when you look back at Cameron Combs and Grant Humphrey, who have made their final pit stops already. They were only 1 lap down, but now find themselves 2 laps down. That could virtually eliminate Grant Humphrey from potentially, trying to win this race later on. That could definitely put him into a more difficult position, so they desperately need these drivers to make their final pit stop here. I think if this lead group has to come down pit road, make their final pit stop, that at least brings some of these drivers kind of back into the battle, back into the picture here a little bit, or at least back on the lead lap, and a late race caution flag would then in turn help them out, but they still need that yellow. And if we stay clean and green, man, this is going to be interesting, because now you have a whole different ball game. You expect to see drivers like, Casey Gross and Tyler Humphrey, Corey Crowell, Grant Humphrey in the battle, in the, fight for this championship when it comes down to our closing laps. And right now they're just behind the ball and needing desperately that caution flag. But after this wave of pit stops, and here we go, we're going to get them all down pit side, is our race leaders head down pit road. This is our top 8 drivers, plus the 99 rider Chris Muse will come down pit road with them. Now they need to get down pit road. Everyone needs to complete their pit stop and try to leave pit road cordially in line, single file, and nose to tail as quickly as possible, as that second group had just went around them and just worked themselves, I do believe. I don't even know if that was that. Yeah, that was the second group that just put themselves back on the lead lap here. That's great news for these guys. They're at least back on the lead lap, but you start to see that other group already leaving pit road. Now they just need to get lined up here as quickly as possible for Al Reed and Kurt Sponsler. A little bit slower pit stops right here. Oh no, this could be a heartbreaker for the 2 Elite Sim Racing Championship contenders. They were quite a bit slower down pit side. I don't know if they needed that extra little bit of fuel or not, but if they put in a little extra fuel and some of the other drivers undercut them, then it may make it tight on fuel for some of these guys. But for Al Reed and Kurt Sponsler, they're probably not going to be a part of that lead group here. Is now out in front leading this race. It's the 76 of Caleb McKinney. McKinney's got the race lead. The Elite Sim Racing number 6 ride of Robert Tuwiscu rolls there in second. The 5 ride of Brandon Puffenbarger, I do believe, is still a lap down here. So Puffenbarger, first car 1 lap down. You throw in this 12 ride of Josh Bromfield. He works to the outside. Bromfield will jump out in front. Bromfield now has the race lead. and the championship lead here late in this race, and it could become a two-car battle here if it stays clean and green, ladies and gentlemen. This lead pack now, as you see Al Reed and Kurt Sponsler, they're lined together, but they are now 4.5, 5 seconds behind the new lead pack out there on the racetrack. And unfortunately, they find themselves kind of in the same situation as that second group. But as a two-car tandem, they're in an even worse situation because they're going to be running significantly slower lap times than that second group. And that could definitely set them back here. Now, they still have about 18 seconds between them and this second pack, but in saying so, I mean, Gary Wright's kind of in the middle of that, same with that 7 right of Devin Black, but things have just broken up a ton here, ladies and gentlemen. We now have 5 cars on the lead lap in this lead group here, in this lead pack. Only 5 drivers are still on the lead lap here in this group, and they are currently over 5 seconds or more between themselves and our 6th place driver. You look back at 8th, he is now 20 laps back of this field. And then you look at a little farther back, you look at Lancaster and our 9th place driver, 23.5 seconds back of this lead pack. Oh, brother, how these green flag pit stops in that second run here of this green flag cycle after that caution flag has really just broken things open when we saw a couple of those drivers get lined up here. When we saw Devin Black and we saw Edward Belair kind of get in line and in front of this, what was the second half of the lead lap pack, they kind of just blocked them and unfortunately killed all their momentum. And as they lost that momentum, it just continued to drag them farther and farther back. It now puts them all into a very difficult position, including their teammate, Tyler Humphrey, who's battling for a championship, and Grant Humphrey, who's also battling for a championship. Now, if you're Grant Humphrey, you are still not in that free pass position, and unfortunately, you're not going to be in that spot as Brandon Puffenbarger, who runs here in the 14th position, is currently the first car 1 lap down, just here in that lead pack. And now if you're Puffenbarger, you're still battling to keep yourself on this lead lap, but you're also, helping this lead pack out. And it is getting close to the end of this race, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Josh Bromfield leading the way here, one of 2 playoff competitors inside our top 5 right now, inside the battle for the front of the field here, as Bromfield as the race lead. Mike Killing back there in second. Anthony Garland technically scored back in third, but his teammate, the 99 ride of Chris Muse, who's a couple laps down, rolls there in what would be that 3rd position, but Muse, a couple laps down, just there to help out his teammate right now, and that's exactly what he's doing, as that puts the Poor Boy Motorsports virtually the first, 3 cars in the 4 cars here in the front of the field. Cale McKinney back here in that 4th position. He's kind of a lonely duck out here. He's got no teammates left. He's kind of just on his own. And now with 3 of the Poor Boy Motorsports rides here towards the front of the field, you're in this battle. You just got to hope that maybe Brandon Puffenbarger helps you out. Maybe that 14 ride that's now a lap down as well of Billy Jordan tries to help you out here. But why would they want to help you out as well? You haven't really worked with them all too much throughout this race, and obviously now later in this race, the Quantum Motorsports ride and the, Midwest Motorsports number 5, why are they really going to make a big call here to try to help these guys battle it out? But all of a sudden, inside group gets way slower here, and it looks like they're playing some strategy themselves here for that team as they get checked up. They allow the 99 rider Chris Muse to jump in front of them. Now that doesn't put Muse into a winning situation. It takes him from 2 laps down and puts him to 1 lap down in case if there is a late race caution flag. He'll at least be 1 lap down and still somewhat in the battle here, still somewhat in the mix to potentially duke it out here for another lucky dog. If there's another late race caution flag, he could be in line for that one. So for the team, they elect to take this 99 ride from the third car in line to put him out in front of this field, but you still see that 12 machine. Josh Bromfield, he's sitting comfortable right now, man. He's got his teammate in front of him. He's got a teammate back behind him in that 81 ride of Anthony Garland. The 70 ride of Mike Killingback has been right here with these guys, helping them out quite a bit here. So you're going to wonder if Killingback is going to try to help Bromfield potentially try to win this race this evening, because he may be inclined to do it more than helping out potentially other teams like Caleb McKinney or any of these other drivers, and unfortunately it just really mixes things up even more here at the front of the field. And a caution flag, man, what it would do, it would create chaos here this evening. It would be pandemonium for all those drivers that are back here that are right now, we talked about it, man, they're kicking themselves in the butt. They know it. They know that if there's no yellow, their chances of this championship are done. They're 22 seconds behind our race leader right now. They're 22 seconds back. They got 18 laps left to go. They're running, maybe a little bit quicker, but not much quicker than that lead pack. And unfortunately, it's just not enough time to reel them in, to draw them in, to get yourself into that battle again. Even if you run consistently half a lap, half a second quicker than them, you're still not quick enough to close that gap and to get yourself back into that battle at the front of the field here. And that's what the big question mark is going to be for a lot of these drivers. Even when you look back here at Al Reed, Kurt Sponsler and Rob Tuwiscu, just tough pit stops there for Al Reed and Kurt Sponsler. And unfortunately for both those drivers, they came out of the pits way behind that lead pack. And now luckily enough, they've gained their teammate, the 6th rider Rob Tuwiscu, gave up battling there in that lead group to fall back to these guys. He fell back, 5-6 seconds to get in line with these two, to try to help them out, at least give them a 3-car tandem here to somewhat keep pace, to not fall too far back, and to kind of stay here inside the top 5 here this evening. But obviously battling for that championship and having championship drivers in front of you, you're just kind of sitting on an island right now in the same boat as that other big group out on the racetrack, just desperately needing that caution flag, desperately needing something right to go your way here late in this race, as they're still 20 seconds behind our race leader Josh Bromfield, as Bromfield out in front, Killingback there in second, Anthony Garland in third, and then it's Caleb McKinney who rolls in position number 4 here this evening. You throw in the 5 ride of Brandon Puffenbarger, who is the first driver 1 lap down. The 14 ride of Billy Jordan, second driver 1 lap down out there on the racetrack. Unfortunately, though, it is a big gap all the way back here from that lead group here to this 3-car tandem with the Elite Sim Racing rides. And then they got about 14 seconds between themselves and the third group virtually out there on the racetrack, with Chad Lancaster, Johnny Thunders, Casey Gross, Gary Wright, and the 15 ride of Cameron Combs in that battle. And then they're broken up even more here now with the 25 ride leading this group. Tyler Humphreys on his back bumper. You see the 7 ride of Devin Black, the 48 of Grant Humphrey, who's the lap down back there, as well as the 2 of Corey Crowell, who's now scored in the 13th position, last driver on the lead lap, and currently right now, and of our lead lap championship 8, he's the farthest running back driver. Technically the farthest running one is this 48 rider Grant Humphrey, who's still a lap down and unfortunately scored back in the 17th position, still has damage on the front end of that 48 ride. But it's going to come down to, I think, these closing laps here with only 14 laps left to go here in this one. Obey the boss. 33 says, get him. Number 76, get him. Cheered on Caleb McKinney here this evening. Well, Caleb, he's there. He's one of 2 drivers in this league group that has a chance, that has an opportunity to try to battle late in this race for the championship, biting a late race caution flag. It is virtually right now, if it stays clean and green to the checkered flag, it is between the 12 ride of Josh Bromfield and the 76 of Caleb McKinney. If the caution flag comes out, it brings the other 6 right back into the battle, but as of right now, they are out of it. They're too far back. They're not going to catch up to this pack. And unfortunately, they're going to be kind of sitting in a tough spot. But we do start to see how Reed's trying to close the gap here. He's trying to reel these guys in as well. Last couple laps, he's been about a quarter of a second quicker than our lead pack. Unfortunately, though, being, 4 seconds back, 4 or 5 seconds back of that lead group, you're really going to need to run the next 12 laps just at that pace to maybe draw within 2 seconds and maybe start to get a little bit of that tail draft off of that pack. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be close enough, man. They can try. They're going to give it everything they got, and you can't fault them for doing it, but unfortunately, I don't know if they're going to be able to draw these guys in, be able to get their draft, and be able to see if they can work and use it to get back into the battle here in the closing laps. But Al Reed swans their rump to Isku. They're going to give it everything they got to try to get there. They're definitely not going to back down at this point. And then if you look at that third group back there, they're still plenty far back here. And unfortunately, even with this third group, they only got 1 playoff driver with Casey Gross in that battle. They are currently 18 seconds behind our race leaders. You look at the fourth group that's rolling out there on the racetrack with Tyler Humphrey, Corey Crowell, and Grant Humphrey in here. They're about 21.6 seconds back of our race leaders. So for a lot of these drivers, man, it is just banking on that caution flag. They got 11 laps left to go. They desperately need this yellow. And I think for a lot of these drivers here at the front of the field, not a lot of these cats are going to be making moves. I think Bromfield's going to be pretty content with staying right here behind his teammate, the 99 ride of Chris Muse. And obviously the 70 ride of Killingbeck is not a part of the playoffs, so he doesn't have to worry if Killingbeck gets around him. The 81 ride right there of Anthony Garland, another teammate here that could potentially help out the 12 of Bromfield win this championship here this evening. And nice and easy down through the tri-oval, back down and across the line. It is 10 laps left to go here in this season finale, presented to you by Goss. As Goss on board with us here this evening before our final little run here. We're going to get a quick little commercial break in here and give you guys a quick look here at our sponsors here this evening at Goss. Alrighty, shout out there to our sponsors here this evening for the Goss 500, our season finale here from Daytona International Speedway as we inch closer and closer to the checkered flag here on our season finale, and handing out not only a winner's trophy but a championship trophy here this evening. Now for our champion, they can win this race and the championship, but they can also lose this race. We could see a driver like Anthony Garland or Mike Killingbeck potentially find victory lane and win this race for a non-playoff driver, and then it comes down to just who finishes in front of the other 7 championship competitors. And late in this race right now, leading the way here for not only the race but also for the championship is that 12 ride of Josh Bromfield, as Bromfield continues to lead the way. And back in fourth is Caleb McKinney, our second highest running championship driver. Our third and fourth highest drivers in the championship battle currently find themselves about 4 seconds back of that lead pack with Al Reed and Kurt Sponsler. They're in 5th and 6th. Then we got to look a little farther back to the 10th position here at Casey Gross, where Casey currently finds himself as the 5th highest running driver in this championship battle, but scored back in the 10th spot and about 18 seconds back of our race leader. And then a little bit behind him, you see this 9 ride of Tyler Humphrey. Humphrey sits 6th here in the championship battle. Corey Crowell sits 7th in the championship battle, and a lap down, Grant Humphrey finds himself back here in the last position out of our championship 8 right now on the racetrack. And for Tyler, Corey, and Grant, they find themselves still quite a ways away back behind our race leader, 20 seconds back here of Josh Bromfield out there on the racetrack, as Bromfield continues to just run the way here. I think for a lot of these drivers at the front of the field, when you look at Killingbeck, you look at Chris Muse, and obviously for the Poor Boy Motorsports group, they want to see this one just finish clean and green. They don't want to see a caution flying. They want to see this one come to a close as quickly as possible. Now, if you're Killingbeck, if you're the 76th ride of Caleb McKinney, maybe Brandon Puffenbarger or Billy Jordan, you're going to start trying to make some moves here later in this run here, and you can start to see maybe the 76 trying to find something here, trying to get through that tri-oval right there. Looked like he was hoping he could try to maybe open up the door a little bit underneath that 81 ride of Anthony Garland. I think if he can get that opening to get in between, Anthony and that 12 ride, could definitely set himself up here for a little bit later in this race. But as of right now, the Poor Boy Motorsports group just out in front, just kind of dominating this last bit of this race. And as they head down and nice and easy through corner 3 and out of corner number 4, they'll head back down and through that tri-oval, and it is 5 laps left to go here in this feature event. So 5 laps left to go here this evening and this season. As you see, Al Reed, Kurt Sponsler, Rob Tuiscu, they're still trying to drag these guys down. They're still trying to hunt down to the tail end of that pack. Unfortunately, they're still about 3.8 seconds back of the drivers in front of them, and unfortunately just not close enough to gain any draft or any advantage there off of that. And unfortunately now, with only 4.5 laps left to go here in this race, unfortunately they're kind of just in a stalemate there, the same with everyone else outside of our top 4 here on the Speedway right now. Our top 4 being Josh Bromfield, Mike Killingbeck, Anthony Garland, and Caleb McKinney here for this race win. But for the 12 and the 76, they are duking it out here for the championship. Without a late race caution flag, it is between the two. It is Bromfield, who's got the race lead, who's sitting in the top spot here for the championship. All he's got to do is run the next 4 laps and keep that 76th ride and the rest of these drivers back there behind him to try to win this championship. Even if Killingbeck makes a move, gets around him at the line, that is a-okay. Killingbeck can win this race as long as Bromfield wins this championship, I think is what they're trying to sell to that 70 ride here this evening. You can win the race, we just want to win that championship. And I think for the 76 ride, Caleb McKinney, with no friends up here, no teammates, he's kind of the odd man out here. He's got to try to find teammates. He's got to hope that maybe Brandon Puffenbarger or Billy Jordan will, throw him a bone and help him out here late in this race. And with 3 laps left to go, he's going to have to start to really figure that out and maybe start to figure out when he's going to make this move, when he's going to try to take over, potentially this race lead or battle for that championship. He's got to make something happen as he's quickly running out of time here. And for a lot of these other drivers, they know that they're running out of time. Their championship hopes are fading away here in a quick hurry, but there it is! Caution flag! Around goes Killingbeck, and there goes Bromfield around as well. Brom keeping out of the wall. He's able to keep it for the most part out of the fence here. Washes back down the racetrack, but there's the caution flag that drivers were hoping to find. Oh, no. Too aggressive a pushing here, and I think it all starts with probably, I don't know if it was Killingbeck or if it was maybe that 76 ride of Caleb McKinney. They head into corner 3 right here, and it looks like they're just going to get log jammed, and everyone's just going to keep on pushing, including that 76 ride of Caleb McKinney, who was virtually into the best best place possible as he's got a last one in there, really giving that last shove, that last nudge as they kind of get log jammed in front of him. Keelingbeck's all over the back bumper of the 70 ride, the 81's all over the back bumper of the 70, and all of that, inertia kind of going in through the 81, the 70 ride to the back bumper of the 12, kind of gets him bent out of shape. It shoots Keelingbeck up the racetrack, hard contact into that outside fence, and unfortunately for the 12 ride, Josh Bromfield ends up with some pretty solid damage there himself. Now, hopefully he's still got that, quick repair in his back pocket to try to get him into the battle, but I do believe it was a good enough hit here for the 12 ride that I'm not sure if he's going to be able to continue, or, I think the motor blew. Oh, no, I think that's what happened here. That's why they were on his back bumper. I think he was getting too hot. He knew that he had to be as quick as possible, but he wasn't getting enough clean air to the nose of the 12 ride, and I think they misjudged on how quick and how hot this car is going to get. Take a look down the back straightaway. Temps look like a little bit up, but can't really tell from here, but right there. Bottom end drops out of it. You can see the power starting to fade out of this race car. And with only less than 3 laps left to go, 2.5 laps left, the motor on the 12 ride of Josh Bromfield expires right there. Not only potentially taking him out of this race, but Mike Keelingbeck as well out of this race. But it now brings everyone back together and brings this field kind of right back into the fight here at the front of the field. Caleb McKinney will have the race lead here. Anthony Garland will be in second. They stay out with Al Reed. They're in third here. He's the second highest playoff driver right now in that third position. Tuisku's there in fourth. Kurt Sponsler runs in fifth. He's currently the third highest playoff competitor here this evening in that fifth position, with now Elite Sim Racing having 3 drivers inside the top 5 here. Strategies they got up their sleeve to try to put themselves up and into the winner's circle and winning this championship here this evening. Does Cale McKinney have enough to hold them off here as we'll head to NASCAR overtime? 200 laps wasn't quite enough. Let's do a few more here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go beyond our 500 miles this evening as we'll get ready for our first attempt at NASCAR overtime here this evening. Oh, baby, this is going to be fun as we do see Corey Crowell now scored in the 8th position. Now, Crowell did not come down pit road, so we go into potentially a couple NASCAR overtimes here. Fuel could become an issue here for that 2 ride, but we did see Tyler Humphrey. Humphrey definitely came down pit road here. He made sure he got some extra fuel tires into this race car, knowing that potentially having that extra fuel could put him right into the battle here this evening. Could get him right into the mix. Casey Gross back there in 10th. He also had made his way down pit road. So for a few of our playoff competitors that were down and out of this race, door just got wide open here. And for Josh Bromfield, man, what a heartbreaker there for Bromfield. Absolute heartbreaker here. As he was, 2.5 laps away from potentially winning this championship, from potentially running what could have been a perfect race here, and the motor or transmission, something there late in this race, overheated and expires, and his championship hopes now are out the window. And now we see, obviously there's still a lot of drivers that are a lap down, and unfortunately for Grant Humphrey, I do believe Grant here still 1 lap down himself. He's going to need to try to work his way around Chris Muse, around Mike Keelingbeck, Brandon Puffenbarger, Billy Jordan. They're trying to work his way. Oh, and the 15 ride. Oh, Cameron Combs back on the lead lap here. So Combs got the lucky dog there. But right now there's still 5 drivers, at least 1 lap down. So for Grant Humphrey to get back into this championship battle, he not only has to leapfrog those other 4 drivers, put himself into the lucky dog position, but then get a caution flag before we take the white flag here. It's going to be a lot easier said than done, but, caution flags may be flying aplenty here late in this race. Is now all that intensity, everything's built up here to this moment, and this is going to become very, very fun in a quick hurry here this evening. Now, we do see Rob Tuwisku going to fall to the rear of the field here. I'm not sure what's happened to Tuwisku's ride, but he was on the lead lap, didn't come down pit road, but looks like he's going to elect to come to the rear of the field here. Maybe he just doesn't want to... Hey, he ran out of fuel. Oh, no. You got to hope that he did not run out of fuel there. He did short pit quite a bit throughout that wave of green flag pit stops, but I'm not too sure. But here we go. Our first attempt at a green flag here for our first NASCAR overtime in our championship races. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you came here for a show. Well, here we go. We knew it was going to come down to a late race restart. Well, it can't get any later than this. 201 laps completed here this evening, and only 2 more laps left to go. And right now, you see those drivers with the white tails on their car, those white fenders, not fenders, the yellow banners and the yellow markers. And there we go. Around goes a couple drivers. There it is. Caution flag. Caution flag is back out. You see Chris Muse in there, the 25 right, Edward Belair. Mike Killingback tied up into it again. And does look like Grant Humphrey was able to get through there, but I'm not sure if he's in line for that lucky dog or not here this evening. But we do see a couple drivers getting some pretty solid contact there as, once again, our yellow... I'm trying to think of the name of them here. You can see the yellow banners are playoff drivers for some of them, but some of them aren't. But for pretty much all of the drivers with the rear spoilers, the yellow rear spoilers, those are our championship drivers. And you can see kind of where this kind of gets a little bit started, a little bit frisky here. 3 wide, and 5 of our playoff championship drivers are in this inside lane, and they kind of get a little bent out of shape, and they start bouncing around off each other, and they get a little wild right there, and all of a sudden, behind them, more chaos as the 25 right pushing his teammate Tyler Humphrey, trying to get him to the front of the field, trying to get him up there into the battle at the front of the field. Unfortunately, they got a little too bumpy there, and as they get a little log jam, they start running over top of each other, and then that turns the 25 right around into the lap there of a few of these other drivers, and you do see Grant Humphrey kind of in the middle of it, but Chris Muse tied up, killing back. Obviously the 25 right, pretty solid damage there, some damage as well for Devin Black, but we did see Grant Humphrey who's trying to work his way back into the championship contention, trying to get back on a lead lap. Unfortunately did get a piece of that one as well. The paint on my spoiler was yellow before the playoffs on this car. Okay. Cameron coming in with the update on that one. Yeah, Cameron's the only one with the yellow spoiler as well that is not a part of the playoffs here. So we went over that earlier. We went over that on that one earlier as well. It's that Cameron Combs. He's got the same yellow rear spoiler, but it was just kind of the same as the paint scheme. Not really the same as, our playoff competitors here this evening. But for these playoff drivers, man, it's getting down to the nitty-gritty here this evening, and obviously fuel starting to become an issue here. We do see Anthony Garland make his way down pit road, same with Johnny Thunders. Here comes Rob Tuwisku, also coming back down pit road, so it looked like maybe those guys were starting to run out of fuel. We do see Killingback back down pit road, same with Puffenbarger and Grant Humphrey. I'm still looking to get some more repairs. Josh Bromfield, after blowing up down the back straightaway, en route to what could have been the championship here this year. Still parked down pit road. Edward Belair back there as well, back in the 19th position. But for right now, it is Caleb McKinney, Al Reed, Casey Gross, 49 right of Kurt Spawns. There are top 4, all playoff competitors, all championship battlers here this evening. Chad Lancaster, Gary Wright, 2 drivers not in the championship hunt, but are in the race hunt here this evening. And then for Corey Crowell, back there in 7th. Tyler Humphrey finds himself there in 8th. 2 drivers, a part of our championship, back here in that 7th and 8th position. Still not out of it, not quite in it though. Probably not the spot that they would maybe like to be late in this race. They would probably rather be out in front, but they got to just be aggressive. They got to make some moves. They got to hope that they can find some lanes and get some runs in late in this race. make enough headway to try to steal this championship away from the other 4 championship competitors in front of them. Now, for Grant Humphrey, you can't say he's out until he's out. Unfortunately, though, I do feel for Grant Humphrey, and he's going to be in a tough spot to try to get back into this race. Now, I do believe Billy Jordan is currently scored as the first driver 1 lap down. Now, he may get the wave around here. I'm not sure if we're going to see a lucky dog or not, or if they've already given it out here potentially, as Billy Jordan, Grant Humphrey, Chris Muse, Mike Killingbeck, and Brandon Puffenbarger all 1 lap down out there on the Speedway. It did look like they potentially gave the wave around to Brandon Puffenbarger, but it looks like Puffenbarger, maybe not. Maybe he was already coming down pit road, so I think he was in line for the lucky dog, but did not get it because he came down pit side. Looked like he had been tight on fuel there and had to be forced down pit side, so no lucky dog there for that caution flag. And for Grant Humphrey, he's going to need at least 1 more caution. Can't get tied up into it. Needs to get around the 14 right of Billy Jordan to put himself into that lucky dog position. Still going to put him at the tail of the field for the final restart of the season. This is going to be interesting as this is Go Killer number 70. Go bring it home. LTU, LTU, LTU. Cheering on that Lawrence Tech University ride of Mike Killingbeck. Unfortunately, Killingbeck is now scored at least a lap down here. Was in line for potentially a solid finish and a good run there until that 12 ride blew up right here on corner 3 entry to bring us to these late race caution flags and to really spice things up here late in this race. It's Caleb McKinney, Al Reed, gonna get ready to see the green flag fly. What could be the final time here in Season 10 of the Outcast Racing League as the Goss 500 about to come to a close. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you came here for a show. Well, here you go. Another attempt at NASCAR overtime. Green, white, checkered. 1 green flag lap. If they see the white flag fly, the next flag will end this race no matter what. If the caution flag flies before the white flag is displayed, then we will stack them up, rack them up, and try it all over again for our 3rd and a final attempt at NASCAR overtime here this evening. Alrighty, as the pace car makes a hard left-hand turn back down pit road for what could be the final time here this season, is down through the Geico restart zone. Green flag back out into the air as the Overton 76 of Caleb McKinney out in front leaves the inside lane, jumps to the outside here. In front of that 3 machine of Al Reed. Reed all over his back bumper. The pushing and shoving, it's heating up. There's contact. Look out. Tyler Humphrey is around and the caution flag will fly. Oh no, the Humphrey twins both collected here in this one. Couldn't even make it back to the back straightaway here before the yellow flag gets displayed again. As those playoff drivers, they know what's on the line. They know their playoff hopes are right there hanging into the wind. And unfortunately, that's where the aggression starts to get the win out there. As you see them stack up here a little bit. The 76 parked it in front of the 3 of Al Reed. Now the 49, the 16 got to get checked up as they're coming with a little bit more momentum to the back bumper here of that 3 and 76 ride than they're expecting. So they start to get stacked up. And unfortunately for the Landesco number 9 rider, Tyler Humphrey, he barely gets checked up, able to find a gap here in the middle, but unfortunately for the 16 rider, Gary Wright, I think already with that little bit of a love nudge, already kind of got him bent to the shape, pushes the 9 down the racetrack into Tuisku. They wash up the racetrack here and nowhere to go for Grant Humphrey there as Grant parked right in the middle of it, absolutely tore up and destroyed. And unfortunately, I believe that is definitely going to take Grant Humphrey out of this race potentially. And now, more craziness here as Caleb McKinney has to come down pit road. McKinney needs fuel, has to make a pit stop, and down pit road, Caleb McKinney, I don't know if it was an unsafe pit road entry or too fast down pit side, but for Caleb McKinney, this is a heartbreaking mistake. It looks like maybe he's out of fuel here, and he needs to get down pit road. He's coasting in there, and unfortunately just carries too much speed, earns a black flag, And that will be a pass-through penalty during the green flag conditions, or at least a penalty that will be handed out after the race, which will probably take him out of contention here this evening, not only giving up that track position, but the black flag now lurking over him. That is going to put him into a tough spot. For Tyler Humphrey, he's still battling, he's still rolling out there. Unfortunately, doesn't look like he's got a quick repair left in his back pocket. So for the 9 ride, has not elected to come down pit road. If he still has that quick repair, could still be in the battle here this evening. But our playoff drivers are starting to drop like flies. And now all of a sudden, it's Casey Gross with the race lead here. Casey, oh, checkered flag is going to fly. What in the world? Checkered flag is displayed. What? All right, so the white flag came out there. That wasn't our first attempt at NASCAR overtime, was it, ladies and gentlemen? That was only our second attempt. And they only gave them 2 attempts. You know, usually we get 3 attempts at NASCAR overtime, and being out in front at the time of the caution flag, it's Casey Gross who picks up the win. Casey Gross will win this race, and Casey Gross will win the championship. As the caution flag back here behind him, look at the 76 down low, getting a shove from our sponsored car here this evening. The 0 to a Chad Lancaster. That shove right there. They stack up on the outside lane. They start wrecking back behind them. There's the caution flag right there. Caution flag gets displayed. And that technically ends this race, as they're going to get back in line. I'm sure, like everyone else, probably thought we had at least another attempt at NASCAR overtime here this evening. But then they come back down and around and across the start-finish line right here. And our flag man waving the white flag also throws the caution flag here in this race. Or throws the caution, but also the white flag. And that means back down and across the line here. This is for the checkered flag here this evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Under yellow, a way we never like to finish a race, but it's the 77 of Casey Gross who ends up winning the championship. Casey Gross in the Quantum Motorsports number 77 ride wins the Goss 500 here this evening from Daytona International Speedway. It's Casey Gross who will not only win this race, but wins the championship here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up for the 77 as Casey Gross picks up the championship here in Season 10 of the Outcast Racing League. And as we said, it's not about where you start, where you run throughout the middle of this race. Is all about where you are at the end of it. And luckily enough, Casey Gross in the right place at the right time. And with the 76 of Caleb McKinney leaving that inside lane open, jumping to the outside lane, in what in turn virtually created the final caution flag of this race. It allowed Casey Gross, Chad Lancaster, and the rest of that inside lane to squeeze down and around Al Reed and Kurt Sponsler and put themselves in front of the field. And for Casey Gross, he picks up not only the win, but the championship here this evening. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up for our champion, Casey Gross, as Casey gets the job done and wins the championship here in Season 10 of the Outcast Racing League, as we'll get ready to pull Casey up and into the broadcast booth. Hey Casey, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker broadcasting booth. Take a copy.
Yo, what's going on, Aaron?
Casey, not much, brother. Take us back through it, man, as you are not only our race winner, but our Season 10 champion here in the Outcast Racing League, man. Take us back through it. What are the emotions right now as you are the champion here this year?
Dude, I don't have words, man. I don't have words. I can't describe the fucking feeling I'm having right now. Like, I haven't felt this way in a long time. You know, I've won, I've won here and there in competitive with friends and stuff, but dude, this is really important to me. Like, this is awesome. Anyway, pretty much Quantum, we just decided we were going to hang out in the back for most of the race. We didn't race hard at all. Essentially, we just wanted to make sure we were there for the end, and we all kind of stayed together. I wish I had some teammates that were actually eligible for the championship, but I mean, these guys, I can't thank them enough. I know, like, I'm gonna thank them later, but I can't thank them enough. If it wasn't for them, this doesn't happen. So, I mean, I'm beside myself.
Yeah, absolutely. An incredible way to finish off this season. Obviously, we never like to see a race of this magnitude end under the caution flag, and kind of caught us off guard right there. Was there only 2 green, white checkers?
Yeah, there was only 2.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that caught me off guard. I thought there was 3. I thought we were getting ready to go back to green flag racing, and all of a sudden I look up, and the checkered flag has been thrown. And I mean, hey, lucky break for you, obviously, and a little less stress as you get to not only win the race but win that championship. And it comes down to that final restart, and obviously you restart in behind Caleb McKinney. You see McKinney jump up, leave you guys high and dry there on the bottom lane, in which case, you know, you might have thought, you know, that sucks for us, you know, we don't have too much help to our back bumper. But as he goes up to the high side, he jumps in front of Al Reed. They get log jammed, in which in turn creates that final caution flag and allows you and your teammate, the 0-2 of Lancaster, to just jump down low and steal this win and championship away from all these other fierce competitors. Man, take us back through those late race restarts, and you know what was kind of going through your mind there on that final one.
So the first green white checker comes out, okay, which I was actually hoping for. I was hoping for a caution, because I literally had a 10th of fuel to the good on the laps. So it comes out, we're restarting, and my boys were kind of behind me, and I was behind Corey. I think I was in, I want to say 9th or so on the or 8th on the outside, and Corey goes down low, and I end up getting a run on Anthony and whoever was behind him, and I had to shoot the outside. I had to, and I knew I had Chad behind me on that one. Chad was didn't really have a run behind me, but Johnny, our other teammate, had a run behind him. He smacks him. Chad smacks me on the outside. I'm like, dude, pretty much I saw him coming. I'm like, bro, either hit me or wreck me or whatever you gotta do, but we're going. And he just shot me up to 3rd. And then the first green white checker comes out. And then on that restart right there, basically I had Chad behind me, and I think somebody was behind him. I wasn't sure if Johnny was behind him or not, but I think we were all in a line behind Caleb, the 3 of us. And so I told Chad, I said, I'm either going to push Caleb to a win and try to drop him at the line if I can, try to get around him. But if he goes high, I need you on my tail. And sure enough, he jumps up in front of Al, and I'm like, oh, the seas just parted. This is great. So Chad and the boys behind me got up on my tail and man, put me out to the front. And at that point, I knew there was a cluster going on up at the high side. I wasn't hoping for a caution. You know, I was hoping we'd race it out, but I thought we were in pretty good position to, you know, make a bid for the win if it did go green. But nonetheless, caution comes out, dude, and I'm instant tears, dude. I'm instant tears. I hate to win that way, but man, you got to take them how you can get them. This league is just too good to not take them how you can get them.
Absolutely. So competitive, so hard not only just to win on a regular night and a regular instance at any track, but to be able to obviously pick up a win in such a big moment to not only win the race, but to win this championship and be crowned as the Season 10 champion. It is absolutely incredible, man. You absolutely deserve it. We're happy for you, and we are glad to see Casey Groves being named as Outcast Racing League champion here now in this series, man. That was a heck of a show,
heck of a performance.
It does have a great ring to it. It's Casey, you pick up the championship, you pick up the win, man, after weeks after weeks after weeks of hard-fought battling and racing throughout these playoffs and throughout that regular season, man. Who would you like to thank for just an incredible season capped off here with this championship?
As always, got to start out with thank you, Peacemaker, for putting on such an amazing broadcast every week. One of my joys throughout the week is going back and watching your broadcast. You always do a phenomenal job, and you always take great care of all the drivers. And I can't thank you enough for that. Other than that, like I said, all the admin, Anthony, for putting this on, Al, Brom, myself, we put a lot of work in. I don't want to thank myself, but anyway, I can't thank my teammates enough. I cannot thank Quantum enough. I really can't. I mean, they came out. I'm the only one eligible, and they did nothing but plan their race around helping me get to the front at the end and be there. And I just, other than that, I mean, I think everybody who supports the league, I think everybody who donates, who helps, it all helps. Every little bit of it helps. I think thank you to the drivers that came out all season long and made this an amazing season 10. Made it a great time. I think we probably averaged more than 20 cars a race. It was great. I mean, it had ups and downs. We had a lot of cautions some races, but other than that, man, it was an amazing season. So I just gotta thank everybody, literally everybody who was associated and is part of this league, from the smallest person to the biggest person, and everybody in between. I just gotta thank everybody, man. I'm just, like I said, man, I'm elated. I don't have words.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, brother, after, 3.5 hours of battling and duking it out here at Daytona International Speedway, we'll let you soak in the glory down there in Victory Lane and winning this championship. Casey, congrats on the dub. Congrats on the championship. We'll let you soak in it now, brother, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And we can't wait to see you back out there, in probably a couple months now for season 11 and seeing if you can try to, maybe go back-to-back here for championships.
Back to back. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Casey, enjoy the rest of your night, brother, and enjoy it.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go, baby. Let's go. Good stuff, brother. Good stuff.
Thanks, Aaron.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our race winner and our champion here this evening with the Outcast Racing League as Casey Gross picks up the dub and parks it into the Goss 500, the Goss 500 Victory Lane here this evening for the championship. The winner, he gets all the spoils here this evening as Casey gets the dub here in this one. We'll get ready to pull in our second place finisher, his teammate, and one of our sponsored cars here, the 02 at Chad Lancaster. Hey, Chad, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth to get a copy.
Gotcha.
Chad, man, a strong run, great race for you all evening long. Obviously, this one a very, very long one, a lot of different pitch strategies, and then we see, throughout those final runs, things kind of get a little broken up. You guys are kind of in a spot where you desperately need a caution flag. There was a lot of drivers that needed that late race yellow, and luckily enough, in the closing laps, we finally see that caution flag come out, and all of a sudden it brings new life here to yourself and your teammate, Casey Gross, to try to go after this championship. And somehow or another, you guys are able to squeeze your way through there on that final restart. We see Caleb go to the high side, and you push Casey out in front, and you did exactly what I feel like you set out to do here this evening, is, put the 02 right up on the podium, but to put your teammate into a winning situation and into a championship. And here tonight, you're able to get that done as you push Casey to the win and championship here in Season 10 of the Outcast Racing League. And you come home with a really good finish here for yourself to finish off this season, man. Take us back through it and what's kind of going through your mind right now.
Heck yeah. I mean, first, just want to say that last restart before the final caution, we had a pretty good restart there, but I kind of fell short to Casey, and I was trying to get to him, and Johnny Thunders, our other Quantum teammate, he jumped out there and hit me, and I hit Casey into the second spot there, and that really made the deal for the end there. And then when we were on that final restart, I told him, just tell me when you're going, I'm gonna drive you to the line. So don't worry about it. I'm not going to try to pass you. I'm trying to put you in this championship. And I'm so glad that it worked out. And it just, everything happened the way it should.
Absolutely happened perfectly here for the Quantum Motorsports team as you were able to come up here, put on a show, battle your way through a lot of traffic late in this race and snag this win and championship away for the Quantum team with Casey out in front. You sitting there in second. You guys get to celebrate here on the front straightaway at Daytona International Speedway, and obviously in our race sponsored car here this evening. It's got to feel pretty special being able to put on a show like that and park it up here on the podium, having our sponsor right on board with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Goss Incorporated, great company for soldering brazing equipment. I'm glad that we were able to drive it to the second place there and get up on the podium, but more than happy though that put Casey in the championship. And I don't know if you showed on the broadcast, but we're giving him a Goss Incorporated trophy as well. So he's going to get him a winning trophy as well as a championship.
Wow, big night there for KC. I heard the emotion there with him, man. What was kind of going through your mind there in those closing laps, knowing that, there wasn't not another attempt at the green-white checkered and that this race was finished under the yellow flag. Obviously, no one likes to see a race end that way, but sometimes you got to take them how you can get them, and being in the right place at the right time worked out perfectly for you guys. What was kind of going through your mind there and through some of the emotions for yourself in the team?
Well, in our team chat, we were talking, and I said, "Look, I'm gonna drive you to the line." And as we were coming through one, he's like, "I don't care what you." He was screaming at me. He's like, "Spin me out or push me hard. Just do it." And I said, "I'm not gonna spin you. I'm not gonna spin you." And I kept driving him as hard as I could. And luckily, Corey, shout out to Corey as well because he gave me a little push to help us both get by the outside line there. So thankfully it all worked out, and I told him I wasn't going to try to pass him. I'm going to drive him to the championship. So I'm glad it worked out, and he's got a championship, and we can move on and go to the next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Season 11 around the corner here in the new year. We can't wait to see all of you guys back in action and duking it out here again for the Outcast Racing League. But here tonight, Chad, another great run, another great performance for yourself. Brother, who'd you like to thank for not only such a great performance here this evening at Daytona International Speedway, but all season long?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to thank Landon C. NSB. Obviously, that's my main sponsor, my personal business, and done a lot for ORL over the season. They've done a lot for me, and I'm glad that the sponsorship has gone through the season. Of course, Goss Incorporated, great sponsor as well, and ORL, the admins that are taking part in this, and we'll see what season 11 brings.
Absolutely, brother. We can't wait to see you guys back in action and see if maybe you and the Quantum Motorsports team can make another bid for back-to-back championships next year.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You too.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our second place finisher, Chad Lancaster. Lancaster comes home second here in this race, and now we'll pull in our third place finisher here in the race, but our second place finisher here in the championship, the number 2 ride of Corey Crowell. Hey, Corey, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Do you get a copy?
I do, Aaron. What's going on?
Not much. Corey, man, just a long day of trying to claw back and fight your way into a good finish here, or a shot at potentially trying to battle for this championship. And man, it was a dogfight for you all evening long, it seemed like. Obviously early on, trying to keep yourself backing out of trouble, and all of a sudden you end up getting tore up in one of those caution flags, and you have that damage. You stay out. You're trying to get that repair done without using the quick repair up. You and your teammate fall back, end up falling a lap down, making that additional pit stop, and just trying to battle your way back onto the lead lap. And then they're late in the race. You can finally get back on the lead lap. You're in a decent spot. Then lap traffic plays a role and breaks that field up a ton. And you guys just desperately needing that late race caution flag to get into the fight here for the championship. And luckily enough, you got that. You were able to fight there a little bit for it. Unfortunately, though, just never really enough laps on these green-white checkers to try to drive your way through the field and battle there with KC or Al or any of these guys really for that championship here this evening, brother. But take us back through it, and what's kind of going through your mind after what seemed to be a dogfight day for you.
Yeah, first I want to start off with saying congrats to Casey. He earned it. He deserves that win and deserves that championship. So kudos to him. Kudos to Chad, second place finish. Good job on him on that one as well. Day of adversity. He got caught up in that one incident. Tried to use just repairing it. Ended up being like 6 minutes, 50 seconds. Thought that it literally just looked like suspension, so I thought aero was fine. Then we kind of lost the draft. We were losing so much time, me and Puff, just a 2-car. So we decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and pit. I'll use my fast repair. Hopefully we can slow the distance that they're gaining on us each lap. We were getting ready to go 2 laps down. Then there was a caution, so that saved us. Puff was able to get the lucky dog. I had to wait for the next one to get it. I think there was a caution for the second stage, I believe. So I ended up getting the lucky dog there. Fighting my way back. And it was just kind of riding along. And then I believe it was like probably around lap 120 or something. I felt almost like what felt like a spring popping in my gas pedal. And it was like I could push it down all the way, but it would only go 3/4. So I had to like force it a little further to get max. And then if I let it without pressing the gas pedal like I'm pit road or something, I was sitting at a quarter throttle. So that was kind of tough. Had to manage that. But yeah, I don't know. There was in between one of the green flags, there was, I think it was like lap 146, something around there. A lap car decided, you know what, I'm just going to cut down in front of this pack and split the whole pack up. Stupid. I mean, literally separated the whole, both packs. And it would have been, to me, I think that would have been a better finish if it was like that. It changed everything, but it is what it is. Man, I hate it. 500 laps and we ended on caution, but again, congrats to Casey. I don't want anything get taken away from him. He earned it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Still a heck of a run and a heck of a race there for Casey. A heck of a battle back for yourself here to at least get a podium. Obviously, you know, it sucks coming third in a race, and obviously sucks coming second in a championship battle there, knowing that you were so close, and after battling through so much to be that close, it definitely stings that much more. But man, hell of a show tonight, Corey, man, and a hell of a season for you. Who'd you like to thank for, you know, just another great performance and a great season all season?
Yeah, before I thank anybody, you know, the last 2 seasons that I've raced in for the championship, you know, it's, hey, at least this time I wasn't wrecked, right? So I was able to finish it. So that's we're moving forward.
Yep.
But no, so I want to thank Goss or Goss, I'm not sure how you exactly say it, for sponsoring the race. You know, Chad for bringing them on board, you for broadcasting, you know, and kudos to Puff. You know, we're a two-man team racing these super speedways, so, and we held our own. We'll get it back where we're more, hopefully. So yeah, just everybody involved in this, I appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. Heck of a run, heck of a drive here this evening, Corey. Congrats on your championship effort, and we can't wait to see you back in action, hopefully here for season 11 and maybe another attempt, another shot at winning a championship.
Yeah, we'll see. Thank you.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, bye.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our third place finisher, Corey Crowell, as Crowell comes home in that third spot here this evening. Heck of a run, heck of a drive there for that number 2 machine. Unfortunately, though, that will do it for us here this evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We can't thank you guys enough for tuning in, and if you haven't already, make sure you guys do us a favor, hit the like button on the stream, hit that subscribe button, become part of the Peacemaker family here today. Turn those bell notifications on, that way you never miss it when we go live here on Peacemaker Gaming, as we'll be back in action tomorrow night. We'll be back into battle with our NASCAR Truck Series, with our Metalheads Truck Series there tomorrow night, so make sure you guys tune into that one. Make sure you guys show some love there to some of the other amazing series that we have here on Peacemaker Gaming, and not only just shows the love to them, but shows the love to me as well, because every time you guys watch, tune in, enjoy, and, you know, hit the like button for us. It helps us continue to grow more and more and more. We can't thank you guys enough here tonight for tuning in and enjoying, you know, a bit of a longer one, obviously quite a bit longer one. Normally these races at super speedways like Daytona and Talladega and stuff like that tend to usually be, you know, 80 to maybe 100 laps, maybe 110, 120, but doing the full length Daytona 500 virtually here this evening, the Goss 500 here this evening, man, was an incredible show, an incredible show. We can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. We can't thank obviously the admin group, all these guys for tuning in and showing the love here each and every week, and then obviously League for always showing the love as well. Let's see if we can get Anthony in here for any post-race things. Hey, Anthony, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Did you get a copy?
Aaron?
Hey, Anthony, you got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Beauty. Anthony, brother, just want to pull you in here for, you know, a little, you know, post-season control. I know whether you want to, you know, say anything about the season or about next season, or, you know, kind of go over, you know, just some of the sponsors or anyone that you'd like to thank here for making season 10 here at the Outcast Racing League possible.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank you. we love you, man. You do an awesome job. Got to thank all the sponsors this year. There was so many I can't even name them all. Every race was sponsored this year, which was great. And I want to thank all the drivers for participating this season. Yeah, we're gonna take our off season here. We typically don't start till after the real Daytona 500, but we've got some changes coming up, and it might be a little extended. Not exactly sure on the start date. We'll be back. To kind of got to regroup, and we've got some changes going on. But man, that was an awesome race, was it not?
Man, it was a hell of a show, man. There was nonstop action, nonstop excitement all around the Speedway, man. You guys put on a great race here to finish off an incredible season. We can't wait to be back here, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it may be, man. You guys, enjoy some time off and a little bit of a break here, and we'll be here when you guys come back for season 11 of the Outcast Racing League. I'll be available, I'll be open, and I'll definitely get you guys right back in here.
Yeah, congratulations to Casey too, man. He deserves it. It was a hell of a run he got on that at the restart prior. Took it 3 wide on the outside, and I couldn't see that far up. I assume Chad pushed him, his teammate.
Yeah.
And Caleb ran out of fuel, so I was up there too, but I only had 1 lap to go on fuel. And poor Brom, man. Oh, I feel for him. Blew his motor with 3 to go.
Yeah, not even 3. It was about 2.5, maybe 2.25 laps left. And man, I mean, you guys were teammates. Was there a thought of maybe Muse just jumping at a line and getting like more air? Was it an overheating issue being behind the 99?
So Brom said that he looked down at his temps and they weren't bad. And then next thing he knew, he blew. Chris only had 1 more lap of fuel. He was pitting the next lap, and then Brom would have been out front for the final by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he was set up very well. I mean, you can't guarantee anything, but I feel like he was set up very well. But he's like the Dale Earnhardt. If something can happen to him at the end of the race, he's been in contention almost every time. Every time something can happen, it will happen to prevent him from getting that championship.
Yeah, definitely a heartbreaker there for him, and obviously for your team. Obviously wanting to win a championship and a race as well here to finish off the season. Unfortunately, just doesn't play out that way for us here tonight. But Anthony, heck of a season, man. Heck of a show here tonight at Daytona, and we can't wait to see you guys back in action.
I can't wait. It'll be better. Promise.
Beauty, brother. I can't wait, and can't wait to see you guys back in action. Enjoy the rest of your night. I'm sure you're probably driving to work right now, so I'll let you focus on the road and head off to work.
Yep, definitely am. Happy holidays. Enjoy your off season.
Yes, you as well, brother. You as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our the man with the plan, the master man here, the main admin that runs the show, that puts all these races on. So Anthony coming in, giving us a few final words there, man. Absolutely amazing guy, absolutely amazing series, and an absolutely amazing night of racing action. Unfortunately, that will do it for us right there. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all back here in the next one, man. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen. Peace and love.
Radio check. Still. Check 1, 2, radio check. Still. Run the bomb through the corner, lane up through the tile. Not sure why we did that. I don't know the plan. 88 was screaming everybody get to the bottom. Maybe we should just run all out and wait till after the fourth pit. Get out of the gas, slow down. Somebody split up right in front of me.
Here comes that number 15 of Cameron Goss. Coming to the line, it's Kurt Sponsler. Sponsler will pick up stage win. Mr. Garland and Garland leading the way, showing these drivers how to get it done.